I work in management of one of the UK's largest property firms and as one of their night operation manager. I hold a bachelor's engineering degree in from All University, master's degree from University of Wales Institute, Cardiff, and also I have management diploma from London School of Commerce. I will be leading this section. Just as housekeeping, I just want to quickly run us through. This is a webinar program. You probably will be unable to talk because all attendees have been disabled from talking. However, we will take input from you through all various other channels. That is through our chat group and the Q&A tab. Just to double check that we can hear me. If you can hear me, can I ask you to go on the chat group and type yes or no or maybe if you can hear me. Can I ask you to do that on the chat group, please? If you can hear me, can I get yes from you? Thank you very much. That is amazing. Well done. That is very good. Amazing. Amazing. Wonderful. And also, just to be sure that we are also good on our Q&A. Can I get you to say hello to me? Hello on the Q&A. Go on the Q&A and say hello to me. Okay, just go on the Q&A and say hello to me. That is fantastic. Amazing. Thank you. Now, the Q&A process, this is how it works. The Q&A will be for you to put your questions to the moderator or to the speakers as well. So I would ask you to use the Q&A to put your questions there. And your questions will be answered either live or we will type your answer. If I click on a message sent by Ibrahim Shitu, I can answer that message live and you can hear what the response will be. And I will say that is done. Or I can go to another message, read one at Boluaje. Fantastic. Let me just put fantastic there. So that is fantastic. That is the message being done. And I can send the response and everybody can see my response as fantastic. You can see the question and you can see that fantastic. Thank you, everyone. And having done that, the other part that we need to do as our input is our polling system. I will do a quick poll just to see that we are all in line with all our 3 inputs. This is the polling system. I'm going to ask you a question on the poll and I will need an answer. It's within the next 1 second. Can I get you to answer my poll just to make sure that everything is working fine? Bismillah, let's do that. Can you answer my poll, please? Fantastic, fantastic. That's lovely. That's lovely. Well done. Well done. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I can see people are telling me that today. Thank you. There are 138 people that can vote on this, and 95 has already voted. Thank you. Thank you. Your vote is well registered. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. 140, 103, 103 has voted. Well done. Well done. Thank you. Thank you for that. Lovely. Lovely. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll now so that we can move on. I will end the poll right now. That's it. The poll is ended. That's it. So when you are asked to poll, please make sure you register your poll as soon as possible. And at the end of the day, I can share the result. This is the result of the poll. Can we all see the results? Lovely. I can see we can all see the results. That's it. Fantastic. Good. Good. Unfortunately, I might not be able to register all raised hands. If you have any question, feel free to put that down on the chat, which we will constantly monitoring, or put it down on the participants, and that is fine. That is all good. Thank you very much. And I will stop sharing the poll. That is all done. And that is that. Our housekeeping section is done for today, and that is fine. Thank you very much. And I'm glad that we all got this right. I will move to the next part of the event, and that will be introducing our National Youth Secretary. The National Youth Secretary will be the person of Brother Kabir Raji. Brother Kabir Raji is a geologist, an entrepreneur, a travel consultant. Brother Kabir Raji holds a BSc degree in geology and mineral sciences from University of Ilorin. He holds a master's degree in mineral exploration from University of Jos. He also has postgraduate diploma in business administration and management from NSUK, diploma in travel and tourism. He also has from Chartered Institute of Marketing Brother Kabir Raji he has 10 years experience in healthcare, level marketing, hospitality, and tourism industry. He is a managing partner of Smarco Investment, and at the moment, he's currently a trainer and research officer at Nigeria Institute of Mining and Geoscience. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the NASFAT Global Youth Secretary, the person of Brother Kabir Raji. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Climate change. Climate change is already happening. Temperatures are rising. Drought and wildfires are starting to occur more frequently. Rainfall patterns are shifting. Glaciers and snow are melting, and the global mean sea level is rising. As the NASFAT Youth commemorates the 2020 United Nations International Youth Day with a theme, Youth Engagement for Global Action, which seeks to highlight the ways in which the engagement of young people at the local, national, and the global level is enriching national and multinational institutions and processes, as well as draw lessons on how their representation and engagement in formal institutional politics can be significantly enhanced. Climate change over the last 50 years, human activities have released sufficient quantities of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases to affect the global climate. The resulting changes in this global climate bring a range of risk to health, from deaths in the extreme high temperature to changing patterns of infectious diseases. Climate and weather variable pose threats to food and water security and causes outbreaks of waterborne and vector-borne diseases. Moreover, the increased pressure on scarce resources triggered climate-related migration and conflicts. Under business as usual scenarios, it is estimated that between 2030 and 2050, climate change will cause additional 250,000 deaths annually, and as such, the youth of NASFAT is joining the fight against climate change to live a healthy life and contribute to the development of our society. NASFAT as an organization has been in the forefront in contributing positively towards the fight against climate change through partnership with Lagos State Government on waste and sustainable recycling, planting of trees during the 25th anniversary celebration across several locations of NASFAT. In furtherance to our response to the SDG Goal 13, climate action, and commemorating the 2020 International Youth Day. The youth wing is engaging stakeholders, professionals, politicians, legislators on climate emergencies and social justice, an avenue for young leaders to engage with the national leaders on strategic discussion on how best the planet Earth can be preserved. According to Franklin D. Roosevelt, a nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. Forests are the lungs of our land, purify the air and giving fresh strength to our people. I believe global warming and climate change are real threats to our planet, and to mitigate the change, we must reduce or prevent the emission linked to human activities. The effect of climate change does not affect a particular race, religion, country, or a particular continent. As youth, it is time to get engaged for global action to drive the fight against climate change. With this, I welcome you all to the International Youth Day Webinar 2020 for NASFAT Youth Wing, Team Youth Engagement for Climate Change. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Amir. We appreciate your detailed speech. We ask Allah to continue to reward you as you continue to guide and steer the ship of NASFAT Youth Wing throughout the world. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Next on this is we're moving on to a brief talk on climate change and Islam, a duty to act. We would be introducing our Imam, our father, who will be giving us an opening prayer, and he will also be talking about a brief examination of positive duty that Islam places on humans to act against climate change. You know that Quran 13 verse 11 says that Allah never changed the condition of people unless when they are ready, when they strive to change it themselves. And that can be found in Quran 13 verse 11. I'll be calling on our chief missioner, the chief missioner of NASFAT, the person of Imam Maruddin Onike Abdulaziz. Imam is is a man of various background, a certified trainer of Islamic Education Trust / Dawa Institute. Imam is also an Islamic religious specialist who bagged first class bachelor degree in Islamic Studies from National Open University. He also has certificates in Islamic and Arabic language. He's fluent in Arabic and also in English. Imam is a full technical certificate holder from the renowned CGLI, London, United Kingdom. He is a technical educationist who obtained a postgraduate diploma in technical education expert in engineering management and a productivity and improvement specialist with a master's degree in engineering management from University of Benin, Nigeria. Imam has done lots of work, personal branding, impression management. He has also have a lot of online certificates. He does online courses and verified certificates from achievements such as Islam through its scripture by Harvard University, Islamic banking and Islamic research and training institute. Our Imam holds certificates in global diplomacy, in modern world. Imam Onike is a panelist at the 2018 United Nations 62nd Special Section of the Commission on Status of Women at United Nations Headquarters, New York, United States of America. I could go on and go on. He's a member of the American Academy of Religion. He's a member of British Association of Islamic Studies. He's an associate member of Nigerian Society of Engineers. He's also a member of the Nigerian Institution of Engineering Management. Is well read. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you our father, and he is also a grand host of this event. He has been promoting youth affairs. He has done it both offline and online. He's an advocate of youth. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you our Imam, Imam Abdulaziz Onike. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa sallim. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa sallim. Alhamdulillah. Al-awwal bila ibtidai wal akhir bila intihai. هو الذي لا يفنى ولا يكون إلا ما يريد وعلو لما يريد ونصلي ونسلم ونبارك على أسراب المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا دائما أبدا إلى يوم الدين. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير. We thank Almighty Allah. We praise Almighty Allah. We salute Almighty Allah. Allah is the first without any beginning. It is the last without any point of termination. Almighty Allah does whatever He likes, but you never make any mistake. Whatever He wants to be, will be. Whatever He doesn't want to be, will never be. He is the giver of life. He is the taker of life. the Lord of all lords, the King of all kings, the Judge of all judges. Yesterday was the one controlling heaven and earth. Today, the one controlling heaven and earth. Tomorrow, the matter will control heaven and earth. I seek Allah's blessing on our noble Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah continue to bless him. I commit today's program into the hands of Almighty Allah. May Almighty Allah make it easy for us from beginning to the end of the program. And we pray that Almighty Allah to add it to our scale of good deeds for the day of Qiyamah. And may Allah continue to assist the organizers and all the management arm of the YouTube community in the party. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. My viewers at home, I welcome you to this important program being organized by the YouTube community in the party. The program is very dear to our hearts as the Executive Council of Nasrullah in the party due to two reasons. Number one, it falls in line with the Air Trust policy of the current Executive Nasrullah in the party. We have a 4-point agenda that we are pursuing vigorously. We call it health, which means health, education, livelihood, and dawah. Today's topic happens to affect all the 4 aspects of the policy trust. Number two, looking at the theme of the UN for today's International Youth Day, which is youth engagement for global action. If you consider the role that the youth will play in the project called World, have a look at the need and the importance of youth being a critical mass in the world population. 42% of the people of the world are youth. When I say youth, according to UNFPA, it is those who fall between the ages of 10 and 24 years. And they constitute 1.8 billion of the world population. If they decide to take action on an issue, if they want to engage the leaders and the president on any issue, they require our support. And that was why before the event proper, I decided to do some video highlighting some of the points I will be raising today. I call it countdown to the National Youth Day event of Nasrullah Party Youth. And it was titled NASFAT Youth and Echo Dawah. Whatever we are doing as a Muslim to be regarded as a Dawah activity, because that is the essence of our relation. Before I go into the lecture proper, I want all of you at home to recall that on the 4th of August, an event happened in a particular part of the world, and this event shook the entire world. On the 4th of August in Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, there was an explosion at exactly 6 p.m. After that now, about 154 lives have been lost. 5,000 people have sustained various forms of injuries. The impact of the explosion was so much to the extent that it was felt in faraway Cyprus, 240 kilometers away. Those of you who are in Nigeria or who are in Lagos, imagine God forbid, imagine an explosion happening in Lagos, and the impact of that explosion being felt in Ibadan, being felt in Ogbomoso, being felt in Oyo, Subhanallah. And it has to do with environmental protection. That is why today's topic is very important. What happened then was due to corruption, according to the immediate past premier of that country. He resigned on the 8th of August and he attributed it to corruption. When I get in the body of my lecture, when I start listing out the form of corruption that Allah refers to, not taking good kind of environment is a form of corruption. As Muslims, we should know that our religion is environment friendly. And whenever they are talking about climate change, which means change in temperature consistently for some time, which is attendant effects. And what are the attendant effects of climate change? Global warming, hurricane, insufficient water to drink, and some other disaster that will threaten the lives of people. In Islam, we believe that everybody must take part in protecting the environment. Little wonder, therefore, everything has an objective. Whatever you are doing that doesn't have a goal, you had better leave it. One of the objectives of our religion is protection of the environment. Some people will say, does it follow the basic necessities in Islam? Because in Islam, all our activities, all our needs are divided into three. We have what we call the basic needs. We have what we call the of life. We have the of family. We have the of intellect. We have the of property. And lastly, we have the possession of religion. All these things cannot be achieved if you don't have good environment. It means whatever affects our environment, people cannot live peacefully, people cannot enjoy water, they cannot enjoy cool air, they cannot enjoy all the things that can make their life to be better. They will not be able to practice the religion, they will not be able to raise families, they will not be able to reason very well. It will affect their intellect, it will affect their sources of wealth, it will affect their health, it will affect everything. Because one of the fundamental principles of Islamic Sharia is ma la yatimu alwajibu illa bihi wa huwa wajibu. Ma la yatimu alwajibu illa bihi wa huwa wajibu. What does that mean? Any obligation without which an obligatory act cannot be achieved has also become an obligatory act. What am I saying? Without a good environment, we won't be able to pray. God comfort all those who sustained injury in the Beirut explosion. Because of that abuse, that corruption, because of not taking good care of the environment, because the nitrate that was said to have exploded in Beirut was said to have been kept there in the last 5 years. What, according to the news that we are getting now, what is supposed to have disposed about 2-5 years ago, they left it in the port and it exploded. Taking care of the environment and by extension, going away from whatever will destroy the climate is a fundamental thing in Islam. It's one of the objectives of Islam to protect our environment. And we call it Daruriyat, basic necessity. Some may say, does it have to do with life? Does it have to do with property? Does it have to do with family? Does it have to do with religion? Does it have to do with intellect? We cannot achieve any of these 5 principles if our environment is bad. Moreover, those who are in the hospital now, as a result of the environmental abuse, how will they offer salat? How will they relate with their family? How will they carry out academic activities? Everything will definitely be affected if the environment is not taken care of. I want you to note also that with proper application of all the Quranic principles and all the principles in Sunnah that have to do with environmental protection and sustainability, if they are employed, if they are used, the achievement of MDG, Millennium Development Goal number 7, which is to ensure environmental sustainability and sustainable development goal number 13, which is to fight the climate change and its effects, which is very relevant to today's topic. If you apply all the Quranic principles and all the principles we have in the Sunnah, if you apply them properly, the two goals, MDG goal number 7, SDG goal number 17, and number 13, will be very easy for the world to achieve. Allah says in the Quran chapter 28, verse 77, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وابتغي فيما آتاك الله دار الآخرة ولا تنسى نصيبك من الدنيا وأحسن كما أحسن الله إليك ولا تبغي الفساد في الأرض إن الله لا يحب المفسدين وابتغي فيما آتاك الله دار الآخرة. Seek the good thing of life, the good thing of the heaven, with all the things that Allah has given you in this world. All the good things that you have here, money, all the other provisions, children, knowledge, everything that you have to use them to seek the hereafter. And don't forget your own portion of this world. When people are taking part in the world, to develop the world, take part in it. They are talking about education, get education. They are talking about developmental issues, get involved. They are leading forces to they are taking action on the global issues. Get involved. Do well to people as Allah has done well to you. Don't spread mischief, corruption in the land. And that's where I'm going. Don't spread corruption in the land. When we say corruption in Islam, it goes beyond economic corruption. It goes beyond religious corruption. That's what we call environmental corruption. Environmental corruption involves indiscriminate disposal of toxic waste, indiscriminate disposal of your refuse, abusing weather, abusing environment in any form. It means anybody who does something that is not environmental friendly is causing corruption in the land and is violating one of the principles in Islam. Somebody said, the president of former prime minister of Lebanon, who resigned on the 8th of August, he said, the political class will have been ashamed of themselves because their corruption is what has led to this disaster that has been hidden for 7 years. That was the statement made by Mr. Hassan Diab, the immediate past prime minister of Lebanon, when he was referring to that explosion that happened on the 4th of August, that it happened because of corruption. Allah said, you can cause corruption by attacking the environment, or political environment. You can cause corruption in the name of religion. What we know about corruption is just about financial and economic issues. No, it goes beyond that. Not critical of our environment is a form of corruption. Number 2, we talk mostly about some issues, some accidents that happen in the world, and we don't know that we are the causes of those accidents. Even though we believe that whatever happens has the knowledge of Allah, but some of the things it has been established by the professionals that the climate change and its attendant effect that we are experiencing now are caused by the human factor. Allah said in the Quran, corruption has appeared throughout the land and sea by reason of what the hands of people have earned, in order to let them take part of the consequences of what they have done, and perhaps maybe they will return to righteousness. With all the discussions that we are having, we're going to have today, that we have started having, and with all the effort of people of the world, Allah says, maybe this corruption that has manifested in form of environmental abuse will cease to happen. As a human being, as Muslims, we believe that we are passengers of Allah on the surface of the earth, because Allah himself says that in the Quran. Allah says in the Quran chapter 6 165, that every Muslim is his ambassador on the surface of the earth. And as an ambassador of Allah on the surface of the earth, you should be the custodian of the nature. Every Muslim is expected to be the custodian of nature, and we are expected to live harmoniously with other creatures of the world. It is the duty of all Muslims, to respect, nurture, and care for the environment. Allah says in Quran chapter 165, وَأَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ وَالَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ خَلَائِفَ الْأَرْضِ وَرَفَعَ بَعْضَكُمْ فَوْقَ بَعْضٍ دَرَجَاتٍ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ فِيمَا آتَاكُمْ رَبَّكَ شَرِيعُ الْعِقَابِ وَإِنَّهُ لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. He said, Allah is He who has made you successors on the surface of the earth. Hey. And He has raised you in rank above one another, in order to test you with what He has given you. Allah is swift in giving out punishment, and at the same time, He's forgiving and is merciful. As the ambassadors of Allah on earth, all Muslims are expected, and it's compulsory for them to take care of every other creature of Allah, including the environment. Our noble Prophet Islam lent his voice to that statement of Allah when he says, "Inna dunya uliwatun adira, wa inna Allah muktalifukum fiha, wa yanzuru kayfa ta'malun." Prophet Islam says, the world is beautiful and feathered, grey with so many vegetation, and verily God is exalted, made you his steward, and he sees how you are going to acquit yourself. Subhanallah. Prophet said, the world is green, and we as human beings are the ambassador and the stewards of Allah on the surface of the earth to take care of that green nature.
I've been sending messages since yesterday,
and it's going to make us be accountable for the way we have treated the environment. In conclusion, as a Muslim, you should know that your responsibilities as a human being is divided into two. We have what we call individual responsibilities, and we have what we call communal responsibility. Individual responsibility at times will become communal responsibilities. Individual responsibilities are your salat, your zakat, your hajj, or your form of ibadah. The communal responsibilities are those things that once a set of people in the environment have done it, the responsibility will be taken off, the body will be taken off of others. Taking care of environment will fall under individual responsibility. Maybe anything under the belief that, oh, it's a communal responsibility. That's why we have government agencies that take care of environment. In Lagos, we have Lagos Waste Management Agency. We have Lagos Environmental Protection Agency. It means the government are taking care of that area. It could become an individual responsibility if there is a critical situation as we have now. If you dump your refuse indiscriminately, if you dispose toxic waste indiscriminately, if you cut trees anyhow, if you don't take care of water, if you don't take care of the environment, you are not discharging your responsibilities as a Muslim. I want to implore all of us to be alive to our responsibilities, to take care of the environment, and to avoid what could lead to climate change and its attendant effect. And I said, with the attendant effect of the climate change, achievement of the goals of SDG and MDG will not be possible. Achievement of our objective as Muslims, objective of Sharia will not be possible. We don't Allah make it easy for us. We don't Allah consider us among people who will listen to the word of God and make use of it. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. I made my presentation to the best of my knowledge. Whatever mistake I've made in the presentation, do may Allah forgive me. Whatever I've said here that is good and beneficial today, do may Allah share the word among all of us. بأن ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. صلوا على النبي الكريم.
Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We thank you very much, sir. We ask Allah to continue to increase you in knowledge and give you all the required hikmah to continue to guide us right. You are our spiritual leader. You are indeed our go-to person if we have any question regarding Islam. Thank you very much, and we appreciate that. we appreciate your well-educated presentation. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, if you look through the chart, you will see that I have dropped in a section, a link that you can fill in the attendance form. So please, the link is not highlighting on the charts page. So what you can do is, if you copy it and just take it to any of your browser, that should take you to where you can fill in the attendance. Please let us all fill in the attendance just to mark that we are there. And I've just reposted that again now. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I can see people are responding that they filled it. And thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you. Now, we're moving to the next part of the program. And this is a part whereby you remember that weeks ago, about almost a month ago, we sent out a request for us to make a video. We asked you to make video for climate change and things like that on how National Al-Fatih Society can join climate change. And this has come to the part whereby we see the selected videos and we choose our best video. And allow me to call to take over the rating of this program, the person that will be leading this part of the program, the person of Brother Quadri Tijani. Brother Quadri Tijani. Are you with us? Bismillah.
Yes, I'm too.
You have the stage, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum.
In the world, HMJ, this is another quote. Words are powerful. Words change our lives. Words and ideas change the world. I'm Abdul Qadir Olaniwaju Tijani. I'm a certified business analyst, a project manager. I'm the co-founder of Pivot Africa Initiative, an initiative for promoting agriculture and raising entrepreneurs. I will be moderating the elevator pitch session. In celebration of International Youth Day, we request all our members to forward a 1-minute recorded videos on climate change to their zonal coordinators. On behalf of the International Youth Day Committee, we want to show a profound gratitude to all members that actually deemed it fit to forward the videos. Out of the pool of videos that have been submitted, 10 have been shortlisted. And the 10 videos that have been shortlisted, participants of this webinar are expected to vote for their favorite videos. Sit back as we display the short videos submitted. The 10 shortlisted videos are from number 1, Hussein Ekmont, with the code 001. Number 2, Farhan Ekmont, Farhan Adeyemo with the code 002, Abdulganiyu Dangiwa with the code 003, Olani Abdulwahid with the code 004, Bello Zainab Akiwale with the code 005, Mustafa Abubakar with the code 006, Ibrahim Bakari with the code 007, Akini Amidat with the short code 008, Abibat with the short code 009, and the last on the list of the shortlisted videos is Ezekulai Ainde with the code 010. Sit back and watch the short videos.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Zainab Mula Ikma from Kaguna Branch, Lagos Zone 2. Climate change refers to the rise in average surface temperature on Earth, and primarily it is due to the use of fossil fuels, which release carbon and other greenhouse gases in the air. Here are the few innovative ideas on how NASFAT can join the youth action on climatic change. 1. Implementation of the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. And emphasis should be on reduction, because the frequenter the disposal, the higher the greenhouse effect. 2. Using renewable energy by adding solar panels and wind projects to our roofs to reduce reliance on fossil fuel. 3. Using less energy, because the research has shown that over 30% of the carbon emitted to the atmosphere is from our homes, buildings, and industry, so we can make use of the thermostat. 4. Walking, cycling, and taking transit instead of driving. Over 10% of carbon emitted to the atmosphere is from transportation. Lastly, creating awareness by organizing seminars, workshops, and conferences to educate ourselves.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Farhana Demo from 33 Pages Walk, and this is my video on how NASFAT can help against climate change. NASFAT can easily save energy in all of their buildings across the world by simply turning off lights and appliances when they are not in use. They could also update their heating system to using smart controls and heating pumps, as this can help save energy. They can make a dent in their carbon emissions by insulating their buildings easier, and this will reduce the effect that heating systems have on the environment. An innovative idea that NASFAT could use is organising public transport for all its members to get to and from their respective Asalatu buildings. Public transport is so much more environmentally friendly than any of our own vehicles that although this would take rigorous planning, it would make such a positive impact.
Mitigating climate change, I propose 3 things. 1 is for us to advocate for massive tree planting within our homes and in our masjids. 2 is for us to advocate for cutting down emission of CO2. So it therefore means that our generator sources, electric generating sources, should now move away innovatively from what we used to use to now having solar panels and wind kind of electric generation. Also, I propose to you again the 3rd one, which is a NASFAT co-ride. NASFAT co-ride is something that has been in existence. In a way, we use buses in those days. We can go back to using buses, or in this sense, having one member carrying 3 other members to NASFAT. By this would have reduced 75% of number of cars that comes to NASFAT. And if reducing 75%, it means we're reducing the emission as a result of those cars coming around. This can be done by NASFAT. Thank you.
My name is Solani Yabduai from NASFAT Constitution with membership registration number 1488. In commemoration of the International Youth Day, the youth action I believe we can take on climate change is what I on. Right, let's go green! Go green! What do I mean? We encourage afforestation and reforestation while we discourage deforestation. Because it has been shown that carbon, basically, which causes global warming, is trapped by plant after planting. At least 43 pounds of carbon is trapped when we plant a plant inside the soil. And by that regard, it means like a ton is saved in a year. That's sizable enough. So by trapping the carbon, it helps to prevent global warming. Another thing I believe we can do is to undergo what I call empowerment. Empowerment as to, change it to renewable energy, like trying to teach the youth on solar, how to install solar panel at the lights, which basically helps to prevent fossil fuel, which inadvertently contributes to global warming. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Bello Zainab Kemi from NASFAT Youth Wing Zone. I quickly want to lay out my ideas on how NASFAT can join the youth action on climate change. But first, what is climate change? Climate change precedes an average condition in mostly temperature and rainfall in a region over a long period of time. Example is global warming and extreme weather events. The literary definition of Islam as known means peace. In this regard, NASFAT as an embodiment of change in the society needs to join the world on the advocacy of the effect of climate change and find a solution. Empowering the youth is the first key point. The NASFAT youth need to speak up and make sure their voices are heard. NASFAT must also make sure their youth are more involved in the advocacy. give it a world recognition of all sorts as an Islamic body of change across all social media platforms. Ma'asalam.
Hello, my name is Abubakar Mustafa. I'm a NASFAT member, a Nigerian youth, and an engineer. Let's talk about climate change. Climate change has direct bearing on how we live our lives. The clean water, the clean air, the sufficient food, and the safety of wildlife. By the year 2050, it is estimated that 250,000 more lives will be lost to climate change if nothing is done. 2 to 4 billion United States dollars, as estimated by the World Health Organization, is the value of the direct damages to health by current climate change. Should we just wait and watch the future meet us in doom? No, I don't think so. What can we do as NASFAT? First, leveraging our population and subscription all across the world, we can engage in aggressive campaign on the choices we make in food consumption and usage, as well as energy consumption and usage. Secondly, we can also embark on afforestation, that is, making our own forests as a body. This may look cumbersome, but no, it's been done by somebody. Just an individual has done it in India. Jadaf Payev, a 60-year-old man who for 40 years consistently planted a tree, and today he has 550 acres of land, forest named after him. He has become an inspiration to the world, and everybody is looking in that direction. So these little efforts put together can save the world for our future generations yet unborn. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ibrahim Bakari from NASFAT Youth Wing headquarters, Alausa, Ikeja. I'll be talking about how the NASFAT youth precisely can engage or participate in the world climate change. Creating educational programs on how the youth can act as stewards in the rainforest region, that is possibly linking the health lifestyle through educational programs is one of the ways. We can also look at building of trees and also encouraging the youth to engage in the environmental sanitation is also one of the ways. We can also look at encouraging the youth by educating them on mental and physical hygiene. So these are one of the ways we can bring the youth on board to maintain a good climate change.
My name is Akini Amidat Adekemi from Oyo Zone, and I'm going to be speaking on the theme Youth Engagement in Global Action. Climate change describes a change in the average condition, such as temperature and rainfall in a region over a long period of time. Such changes might include higher temperatures, drought, changing rainfall patterns, and so on, all of which we're experiencing now. We know we have a problem at hand, and in finding lasting solution to this problem, what can NASFAT do to support a better climate? They say charity begins at home. NASFAT should educate and enlighten its members on the need to eliminate coal as an energy source and increase access to renewable energy. And a lot of people out there are not conscious of the dangerous and harmful impact of climate change in a society and in the world at large. NASFAT should create awareness among people in the society and also make an investment in climate change research. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is Barakat. I want to talk on how NASFAT can join the youth action on climate change. Climate change describes the change in the average conditions such as the temperature and rainfall in a region over a long period of time. As youth, we should be dedicated to building the next generation of environmental leaders, change makers, and make positive impact on our planet. And how can we join the youth action on climate? First, we should discourage burning of fossils, deforestation. Little did we know that these trees help to regulate the climate by absorbing the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Fertilizers containing nitrogen fluorinated gases should be discouraged. We should volunteer ourselves, have a workshop, teach ourselves how to plant trees. Then we come out in mass, go to the public, plant a tree, and hashtag it, plant a tree, save life, save the climate. And as well, sensitize the public on what climate change entails.
My name is Abdullah Ainde Yunus from Northwest Luzon, Sokoto branch. This is my video competition entering for the International Youth Day. NASFAT as an organization can be eco-friendly and can support climate change. in different ways. From my own perspective, NASFAT as an organization can have a sensitization program involving the youth and communities through the community leaders, traditional leaders, and religious leaders at prayer gathering, social gathering, involving in tree plantings. This can help in climate change and we go a long way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. What an insightful, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. What an insightful short videos to mark the International Youth Day. I've gotten a lot of message from the chat room. I go it for who want to. Thank you. I actually want to pass this information to everyone that attendance is currently being displayed on the platform. Kindly register your presence by with attendance. Moving on, we have come to the end of the videos. The next is to actually roll out our pool. A pool is going to be displayed to vote for their favorite videos from 001 to 010. So can we? So the pool is going to be displayed now. Vote for your favorite videos.
Time for the polling. How long, sir?
The time for the polling is actually 5 minutes, and the time begins now. The time at my side is 11:53. So when it's 11:58, we're going to end the poll. So can we have the poll? Yeah, one man, one vote. So the time start now. One man, one vote. So when it's 11:58, we are going to end the poll. So don't be disenfranchised. You have actually, I've seen a lot of comments from the chat room. I go for these, I go for that. If you actually go for those persons, this is an opportunity for you to vote for your favorite videos. (11:54). We have 4 minutes to go. We have actually see a lot of videos, and it's an inspiring and a thought-provoking videos about climate change. And I believe that we, as individuals, as Muslims, we have an obligation to protect the climate, to protect our environment. I've got a lot of ideas that we can actually work on. So let us work on that. So this is 11:55. We have 3 minutes to go to end the pool. So don't be disenfranchised. Vote for your favorite videos from 001, 002, 003, 04, 05, 06, 07, video 08, video 09, video 010. So you have an opportunity to vote for your favorite videos. You have 3 minutes to go. I must acknowledge that everyone is a winner. For you to give me feet to record the videos that will inspire people, that will motivate people to be considerate about the environment, about our climate. We have 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go. Vote for your favorite. Vote for your favorite videos. We have 2 minutes to go before we end the poll. 2 minutes to go before we end the poll. So today, I want to encourage your members, all participants, that let's see that as our own part of responsibility to talk about climate change, to spread, to evangelize the climate change. Our climate is actually changing, and it's high time we take responsibility to ensure that we have a safe environment. There's 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes to go for the pool. This is 11:56. 2 minutes to go before we end the poll. You all have an opportunity to vote for your favorite videos. Let me say from video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4, video 5, video 6, video 7, video 8, video 9, video 10. Just click and submit your vote. One man, one vote. We have 1 minute to go before we end the poll. 1 more minute to go. And the clock is ticking. You have an opportunity to vote for your favorite. Not just complain that you like this video. If you really like the video, vote for your favorite video. Few seconds to go before we end the poll. Few seconds to go before we end the pool. Now it's time. We now end the pool. We have come to the end of the 40th session. Thank you for all our participants that actually vote. The result of the vote will be announced at the third section during question and answer. After the question and answer with our right honorable speaker, Femi. But before we end this session, I would like, permit me to end with a quote from Abu Azan al-Tirmizi, who said, "Knowledge is dead, so make it alive by seeking it." Then when you have made a knowledge alive by seeking it, it is weak. It is strength is in learning. So when you make it strong by learning, it is hidden. So make your knowledge known by teaching it. Then when it is known by teaching it, it is useless. So make it fruitful by implementing it. Today, we have talked about climate change. Let us implement it. Let us evangelize it. And let us make our own impact in our environment. Thank you. God bless you. As I pass the baton to Mr. Ajibola Lawal as he took us through the next session. Thank you. I remember my humble self, Abdul Qadri Olanwaju Tijani. I'm a certified business analyst. I'm a professional project manager, and also I'm a farmer. Thank you. Happy International Youth Day.
Thank you very much, Brother Tijani, for such a wonderful session. And I did thank you for understanding the importance of knowledge. I believe we now have Professor Emmanuel Oladipupo with us now. All praises belong to Allah. We thank him for giving us the opportunity to be here today. And I thank you all for your continued patience with us. My name is Ajibola Lawal. I am an international tax advisor. And I've spent the last few years in public-private international law, particularly how government policies influence corporate behavior. And I'll be leading the next two sessions, which will sort of cover the panel discussions on climate change and also the Q&A session with the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The team for the panel discussion and social justice, and we will have with us Professor Emmanuel, and also we have with us Ellie Rob, and also we will then discover, we'll interact with them. If you have any question for our guests, feel free to drop them in the chat box. We'll try our best to cover those questions. And if you miss anything, we'll send you the video recording of this session. Our first panelist, Professor Emmanuel Lukayede, is an international acclaimed climatologist and head of National Stakeholder Advisory Group at Climate Change Network Nigeria. He's also currently with the Department of Geography at University of Lagos as an adjunct professor to lead research on energy and climate change. Following a doctorate in climatology, Professor Lukayede has over 30 years experience in issues related to climate change management, energy and climate change. Notably, he has worked with United Nations Development Programme in Nigeria between 1994 and 2006, leading the energy and environment team to facilitate and lead processes for the development and implementation of environment-related national development program and projects. Climate Change Network is a non-for-profit, non-governmental national initiative which covers over 150 organizations in Nigeria. CCN Nigeria works in partnership with special prophets, with Federal Ministry of Environment in Nigeria, and also it's a Pan-African organization as well. Climate change also work with the Pan-African and African Development Bank as well. On this note, join me in welcoming Professor Emmanuel Lukayode Oladipupo, and I would invite him to sort of introduce himself and give us his initial thoughts before we dive into the session.
All right. Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
All right. Good afternoon, and it's a real pleasure to be in your midst. For the initiative in which you are thinking of the future. The future belongs to the young ones, so it's good that you start thinking about it. The importance of climate change and climate variability in particular in our development is long and is not uncommon, it's not new. It's just something that we really have to accept as a reality that we cannot do anything about, but we can really try to adapt to it in a way and manner that it cannot continue to be a disaster to us. What I want to share with you, depending on the way you want it, is to let you know that God created the earth. And under this earth, it had all kinds of things there. Above the earth, we have the space, the air, which has a number of gases there. Some of these gases are called the greenhouse gases, like carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and water vapor. The clouds you see that brings you rain are part of the water vapor. And these gases behave in a way and manner that they regulate the temperature of the earth. So I want you to clear your mind about something very important. Everybody start talking about global warming, greenhouse effect, and all that, and you get confused. The global warming is part of the natural system by which the earth temperature is not too frozen for us to live. If there is no warming at all, if there are no gases called the greenhouse gases, the atmosphere to keep the earth warm, the average temperature of the earth will have been about minus 18 degrees centigrade, which will have been too cold for all of us to be alive. And it is one of the things that separates the earth from the other planets. So God is the only scientist in the world that knows everything. Now, God also created the sun to make it available, to give us light during the day, and the moon to give us light during the night. But the moon's energy is very weak. It's not as strong, but the sun energy is very weak. And it depends, it's the one that every human being, every humanity, no matter your level, no matter the science you know, no matter the technology, every human being depends upon this sun to come down and modulate the total earth system in a way and manner that it can make it good for us or make it bad. So when this sun comes down in the rays that you can see, some of which you cannot see, like the X-ray and other ones, but the ones you can see, they modulate and heat the earth. As soon as the earth is heated, you can see that it's getting warmer now than in the morning. Then by about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, it converts into temperature conditions and it tries to radiate back to the earth, to the space. If there are no gases, like this carbon dioxide that we call the greenhouse gases, it means all the energy that comes from the sun will go back immediately. And that will not be ideal. It will be too cold. We will not be able to live. So the role of those gases is to keep part of the energy that is transformed from the sun energy as soon as it hits the ground. That energy is now kept within the atmosphere and is modulated to keep us warm. And if you notice very well, many times, for those of you who live in Nigeria, you will see that during the Harmattan period, when the night is very clear, it becomes very cold because much of the energy will escape back to the space. But when it becomes a bit cloudy, it becomes warm. That's why you start to sweat and say that it's warm tonight, it's warm tonight. What is important while we are complaining about, when we are talking about climate change and climate variability, is that since about 1750, humanity had been injecting a lot of the artificial gases into the atmosphere and making these gases to have more content than they normally have. So the amount of the carbon dioxide and other gases are increasing rapidly as a result of industrial development. And it is this one that is creating the problem for us. When you get to this level, that the content of the atmosphere is so full of these gases and is becoming so warm, then the temperature conditions will continue to change and it continues to affect us. And that is the worry. So climate change is a function of the natural things that usually help the Earth system to maintain itself, either due to volcanic eruption, earthquake, changes in the behavior of the sun, changes in the way the Earth moves around the sun and everything. But in the recent centuries, human activities as a result of the emission of this carbon dioxide is creating a challenge. And we are now worried that we are getting into a very warm period, which had happened in the past. Many of you, please don't think that climate change is new. Climate had changed in the past. It's going to continue to change. It's changing now and it continues to change. For those of you who may not know, the whole of North America and Canada was under ice at one time when the climate was very cold. Everywhere was ice. Then the climate became warm again and it started to melt, and that's what led to the very fertile ground, agricultural land in America, in the US, in the northern part of US, Midwest, and part of Canada. You can still see that much of the Canada today is still full of ice and it's not really melted. So, but what we are talking about now, and then again, let me give you an example of what climate change is all about, because what we are witnessing is climate variability, not change yet. If you remember, if you notice, or if you have read, about 10,000 years ago, the whole of Sahara Desert actually was more or less like a forest environment, all the way to Saudi Arabia and all the rest, and everywhere was wet. And for those of you who may have read the Bible, you know the Noah flood and everything, they took place. So some areas where it's now river Euphrates and all the rest were actually wet environments at one time. So climate change is not new. And you must live with that one, that is only the intensity of this change that is getting us where the Earth is warming. The recent WMO, is World Meteorological Organization statement in June, shows that we are now, the Earth is warming within about nearly 1 degree to 1.5 degrees. And the last 50 years have been really attributed to climate change. And if care is not taken, therefore, if humanity is allowed to continue to mess up the gases in the atmosphere by injecting a lot of carbon dioxide through our industrial development, through our transport systems, then we may obliterate the natural system in such a way that the Earth can become mad and be throwing a lot of water here and there, or drought here and there. And I think that's where we are worried about it, that care must be taken, effort must be made to make sure that we do not continue to put too much gases into the atmosphere, so that we don't change the perfect scientific combination that God gave the atmosphere. If you continue to do that, this graph shows you that we continue to have increase in the climatic conditions continuously. All these are models, being derived, but there's a fear that we may be continuing to increase the atmospheric temperature in such a way that it may become too hot for us to bear. Can you imagine if some of Maiduguri will now grow with another 2 or 3 degrees C, when already in the months of June, July, in Maiduguri, you can hardly sleep. So if you have an additional 2 degrees added to that one, then you are more less likely to. Next slide, if you can proceed. Next slide, if you want. But I can continue talking if you don't have it. Next slide. Now, we all know that All indications, yes. Some of these things,
Oh,
this is just the average condition. Mind you,
at that point.
Mind you that
if I
you
may
want to stop at this point?
Yeah, if I may chip in at that point, I think you sort of, provide
yes, okay.
as to what climate change is.
Yes, you can ask questions as you want.
Yeah, I think you sort of provided some of the, historical and projected impact. And I would like us to sort of domesticate the Nigerian context a little bit. I think climate change just have demographic and sectoral impact. But are there any security impacts of climate change in Nigeria at all? And if there is, would you be able to sort of run through that for us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. You're asking whether there are what?
Whether there are security implications.
Are there what?
Yeah. Whether there are security implications of climate change in Nigeria at all.
Oh, no, don't jump into things like that. You will not understand the genesis. You have to understand the implications of climate change before you can start talking. Climate change will affect everything we are doing. It is part of our life. It will affect our agriculture, it will affect the biodiversity resources, the way our natural capital operates. And you cannot talk about security directly like that without linking climate change to its possible effect on the ecological system. The type of security we are talking about is because human beings are not able to make their living as they used to do from the natural capital like the water and the land. And once climate change, the role of climate change is to degrade some of these things very well. The Lake Chad region, for instance, the water is drying up as a result of the changes in the climatic conditions, which have reduced the amount of water flow. People should get to know it is not the amount of rain in the Lake Chad that makes the Chad to be full. It is the amount of water that comes from the various rivers that flow into the Lake Chad. And once these rivers are not as full as they used to be, and we keep on damming them, that will reduce the amount of water that goes into the lake. When the lake water is reduced, the amount of fish, the ability to fish, and all other things will be reduced. And also the land, as it's becoming less productive, more and more population is growing in the same area. That ground, the imbalance that is taking place will lead to deterioration of the land that is being witnessed in many parts of northern Nigeria, in which the land is becoming a little bit desertified. And once the land becomes a bit desertified, people will definitely migrate. As they are migrating, definitely the security implication is that you come to my land, which I thought it was my land, and all of a sudden you now say, because I have been driven away as a sort of degradation of land in certain parts, you want to start living your life in that land. There will always be conflict. There will always be a lot of young people that were living on fishing before have nothing to do, then they become easy targets. So these are all very difficult things. And I always caution people, there's nothing that says it's security that is causing climate change. The degree of security, even in homes in Nigeria, it's not because of climate change, because we don't have good management of leadership that can really help the people. Even when the resources are degrading, you can still manage it. In parts of Israel are not as dry as along the Lake Chad. Many parts of the Chad area are still wetter than Israel. Israel is managing its land very well. So all these things need to be working. Don't take it out and just say climate change causes security, because we're not. Climate change will always be there. That's what we can do. We have to adapt to it, and we have to really know how to live with it. But immediately we fold our arms and say climate change that is causing security, we are missing the point. I think it's more of political, social, and economic rather than the climate change itself. The climate change is an external threat and it's adding more to the level of insecurity. I agree to that one. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Prof. I was just trying to look at the security impacts of climate change, which you have indeed enumerated that. Now looking at the solution and perhaps get ourselves out of it, it seems that there are two pronged approaches to climate change. One of it is the mitigation, and the second part is adaptation. So could you talk us through those two approaches to climate change?
Now, the mitigation approach, well, climate change is, as I've told you, we have agreed that the climate variability, the current variability we are witnessing, that is really creating some extreme events in terms of floods, in terms of drought and everything, is due to the human activities in which we are injecting a lot of carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide into the atmosphere. So mitigation now says, okay, the only way, one of the ways by which you can now make the climate a bit stable is to reduce the amount of emission that we're having, we are injecting into the atmosphere. If we cannot do that, then we continue to throw in, as a result of our poor management of our energy resources, of use of fossil-intensive energy. So global approach is that every country must pledge to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases is pumping to the atmosphere. And a lot of these things, as you will have seen in my slides, was agreed to during 2015, in December in Paris, with what we call Paris Agreement, to which Nigeria has agreed that I will reduce my emission of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere by about 20% under no condition. But if I'm able to get more support from outside, I can reduce my emission of carbon dioxide, other greenhouse gases by 45% by 2030. So that's what what it meant by mitigation, to mitigate, to reduce the source of that volatility in the atmosphere. Adaptation, on the other hand, said, look, whether we like it or not, whether we're able to shut down all our industries and everything and reduce the greenhouse gas content of the atmosphere, the climate will still continue to change. Under natural conditions, it changes on its own. So how do we adapt ourselves not to be overwhelmed? How does Nigeria make sure that if the months of June, July, August, September, there will be flood, whether we like it or not, whether the climate is warming or it's not, there will be some extreme conditions. What do? Do you fold your arms and allow the flood to wash you away? No. So how do you adapt to it? What do you need to do to be able to cope, rather than trying to address the source of that warming? But now, how do I do this? How do I make my system so that my agriculture will not be completely wiped out? My water resources will not be completely wiped out. My health will not be completely affected. And that's the type of thing that adaptation says. Ability to move with the mode of the climatic conditions and see how we can be able to really cope with it so that it can minimize the impact on us.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Prof. I think Prof has sort of given us a good understanding of what climate change is, and also in terms of its impact, the mitigation and the adaptation efforts. And we've now been joined by Ellie Robb. Ellie Robb is a communication officer at Rethink Plastic and Zero Waste Europe, and currently she's based in Brussels, Belgium. Ellie has a background in environmental law and policy, with a global environmental law and governance master's degree at the University of Strathclyde. Ellie is an active member of the UK Youth Climate Coalition Group, a voluntary youth-led organization that aims to mobilize and empower young people to take positive climate action for global climate justice. As a campaigner, Ellie represented the UK YCC at several UN FCCC climate conferences and worked with at UN level with radical change related to putting people before polluters. Our current role at Rethink Plastic and Zero Waste Europe involves facilitating strategy sessions, creating content across a range of topics, including waste, plastic, and climate change for a variety of social media and policy platforms. She prides herself on being constantly curious about global injustices and constantly motivated to push for change that puts people and planet at the forefront. So before we proceed, I would also like to invite Ellie to give a brief background about herself and also give her initial thoughts about it.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, Ellie.
Okay, hear you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to hear from everyone. And I was going to speak a bit about the climate science, but I'm definitely not doing that because Professor Emmanuel gave such an amazing overview. I'm not going to touch it. So I'm maybe going to talk a bit more about the youth angle and the work that I do at the UK Youth Climate Coalition. So a lot of our work focuses on the systemic issue of climate change. So that's this awareness that, as has already been said, climate change affects everything we do. And the really horrible problem with climate change is that it's going to further worsen the injustices that we already have in our world. So, for example, gender inequality is a really important issue, and for lots of women who don't have access to education, they're also not gaining climate education, which means that as often food providers, they don't have like the skills to understand this changing climate, which is going to make that problem even worse. Also issues connected to race, and definitely climate change is kind of most horrible reality is that countries in the global north who have contributed the most to climate change through burning carbon for energy will suffer the least impacts, while countries in the global south will have the most varied temperature changes. So it's those climate environments that will change the most, despite those countries not being responsible for the majority of climate change. So there's loads of issues connected to race and poverty and income inequality, all tied up in climate change. And also health, and that we're seeing in the time of the coronavirus, health has really diverse impacts on certain groups of people, and climate change will do the same. Those who are already in difficult circumstances will be hit the worst, which is sad and depressing, and I'm sorry to start that way. But the really good news is that we do have the chance to change this. And I think why I'm so inspired by young people and why I'm so proud to be a young person, like campaigning on climate change, is because I think young people really understand these injustices. They really see these problems and are deeply moved to go out and change whatever they can in whatever part of their life they feel like they can make a change. And so that's why I think young people are so important in this fight. And we've seen that with the youth strikes all over the world. Young people have gone to the United Nations climate talks and they're out there demanding justice, and they won't settle for anything less. There are young people in Nigeria doing incredible work, young people in the UK where I'm based. And I think like hopefully today I can kind of speak a bit more to young people and what they can really bring to this pretty big and scary fight, but it's definitely one that we can tackle if we kind of get everyone engaged. And yeah, as has already been said, if we really understand the science, we can go out and make a change. So I'm really excited to be here, and yeah, I'll stop talking and maybe answer some questions.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me just add an information before you start asking questions. This initiative is very good. You guys should check the UN website. There's a youth group already on climate change, which at the last COP in Madrid made a presentation, and the UN is supporting it so that it will be an opportunity. In Nigeria, we have two or three people I know that are members of that youth group. It would be nice to see if you can liaise with them. If you're interested, I can give you one or two names later of the people you can know. But it's a very good approach so that when everybody all over the world, among the young ones, talking about these things, the challenges we elders face, by not rising up to the task of accountability, of accepting that we committed mistakes and we made mistakes in the past, and we are ready to rectify them. We will be able to now, the young ones should be able to come together and be able to raise the voices so that everybody will know. Another area that is very important for what we are doing is the issue of the Paris Agreement that seems to have softened the initial approach to global response to climate change, which was, oh, the North was the one responsible, they created a lot of the problem, and they should be ready to clean it up. And the North is that, because the North has been very clever, they've turned around to us now. They say, hey, you developing nations too, you may not be injecting carbon dioxide from your industries, but you're injecting a lot of carbon dioxide from your land use. You clear your forest, you clear all your land. And when you cut down a tree, it releases carbon dioxide. And with your heavy population, you emit carbon dioxide. So you also are contributing. And the Paris Agreement more or less came up to say, okay, everybody is responsible now. The degree of responsibility differs from country to country, but we are not forcing you, the developing nations. Please try to give us an idea of what you think you can do, whether it is to replant forests, trees and all the rest or whatever. And that's what led to the development of what you call nationally determined contribution. You determine what you can contribute. And so Britain will be talking more about emission reduction and all the rest, whereas Nigeria will be talking more about land use management to increase the, because we don't emit too much from our industries. Most of our industries are dead. So we don't have many industries to emit more greenhouse. But we are emitting from cutting down the trees. Nigeria has the highest rate of deforestation in the world. So apart from the, I think the Brazilian Amazon basin too, that's enough. So if we can now reduce the rate of tree cutting, plant the trees, we are going to be reducing the amount of emission from the land use, and at the same time increasing the capacity of our natural capital to absorb part of the carbon dioxide, since trees absorb carbon dioxide and emit oxygen out for us to live. So you have to do this, and I think you need to pursue this, get one or two of your people to be in contact with these people so I can be sharing ideas on what the young ones are doing all over the world to be able to raise the voice, which has been missing all along, to help the global leaders to think through and see whether how they can really tackle this issue of promoting climate stability. That the agreement is that we do not want this increase in temperature to go beyond 1.5 degrees C. And even with 1.5 degrees C, we still worry that the effect may still be serious enough to increase the poverty level in many developing nations, to increase the health challenges, which COVID has also shown us that we are very weak in terms of, even countries that are very strong in the health system is strong, like Britain and US, you can see how much they suffered, So if our health system continues to not to be really taken seriously, any minimal change in the climatic conditions in terms of temperature extreme, like what happened in Kano, a lot of people died in Kano, but not so much because of COVID, but because of the heat stroke many of the elders suffered from, because the temperature was so high in the months of March, and people were really dying because of those old people couldn't cope with the heat stroke that they were going through, and poor ventilation of houses and all those things. Those are some of the factors. So it's a fairly interesting and interwoven thing. Climate change is a cross-cutting issue. It crosses all things. And we have to do that. Thank you.
Yeah. So if I may, I think I'll come back to you for your closing thoughts and to answer any of the question we might have from the member of the audience. It seems to me that we're quite clear on the scale of the problem of climate change. And perhaps this is the point where we need to think about how do we solve the problem, how do we mitigate it. And I think the starting point for us as youth is to take an introspection. So within us, before we challenge the authority, before we challenge their politicians. So how can youth address climate change well within ourselves? What steps can we take ourselves before we actually challenge the authorities in terms of climate change?
That's a really good question. And I really agree, it definitely starts at the individual level. And I always say to people, we have more power than we realize. So I tell people to write down all the spaces that they have access to. So that could be a group of friends, your family, a community group, a faith group, any of the kind of spaces or groups of people that you already have access to in your everyday life. And then think about the ways you could make changes in those groups. So that could be, maybe you want to set up a film screening of climate documentaries with your local community group. Or maybe in your family, that's sitting down and having conversations about how you as a family can adapt to climate change or do things to lower your carbon footprint already. So I think the first step is really to just look at your life as it is and work out where you could make the most influence. And I would also add to that where you can have the most fun, because this is a really tough topic. It's huge and it's pretty scary. And so if you're not having fun when you do it, and maybe that's the people that you're working with or the way in which you want to make change, it's really important to enjoy it, because if we want to tackle this, we've got to be willing to commit to fighting this for a long time. And particularly as young people, we're going to have to deal with this for quite a long time. So it's definitely important to find a space you can make a contribution and somewhere that you can also have fun in the process. And I think my kind of top tip is that for me, individual actions have been really important. So I've changed the foods that I eat, the way I travel, all those kind of things. But the most important thing for me has been finding a network. So finding a group of people who feel the same way about me, feel the same way as me, and really want to make a change. And I think not only does that hold you accountable, so, you know, it really helps keep me on track, but it also helps build confidence. And as a group, you get stronger. And then that's when you move to this level of, okay, we've seen this problem in our community and we're going to write to our local representatives and tell them that we don't support this. And I think, you know, our political representatives, their job is literally to represent their people. So we have so much power in really, you know, making our voices heard and saying, we do not want this, we will not stand for this, and pushing for solutions. So politicians also don't enjoy being told what you don't like. They much prefer to hear what you would like. So I definitely recommend that as a technique, is kind of, you know, talk to them about setting up local community renewable systems, or how you could implement a zero waste initiative in your community, solar panels, reducing food waste, reducing plastic. There are so many things that I think you could find something that would really make a difference in your area or just in that space where you have power. And then just find your people, find the people who are going to help you in that journey, and then you're unstoppable. So yeah, I think that's definitely my advice. Have fun, find your people, and start small and get bigger.
Yeah, very much indeed. I think you said earlier on about political representative, politician. Indeed, the world has witnessed unprecedented youth demonstration across the globe, demanding stronger action against climate change. And arguably, this is the global social movement of our time. And that sort of brings me to my next question. Could you highlight the diverse ways that youth are challenging the existing power relationship, i.e. the way politicians sort of relate with electorates, or the way we sort of conceive and understand the relationship between power and electorates?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think this is where I get really excited, because I think this is young people's biggest power, is that So for the last 3 years, I have attended the United Nations Climate Conference, which is where the Paris Agreement is built, and there are global representatives from all around the world who help create this global treaty that tries to tackle climate change. Now, there are many problems and there's a lot of politics, which makes it quite complicated, and I understand. But the amazing thing that young people do in that space is they just talk really simply about the reality. And I think, you know, Professor Emmanuel already did an amazing job of explaining the science in a clear way, but it's often very complicated. And the politics is very, you know, there's lots of different egos involved, and they use crazy acronyms that no one understands. And I think young people's power is just finding a way to navigate all that complexity and really get to the root of the problem, which is just that the way we currently treat our world is not sustainable. And if we continue in this way, the injustices that already plague our planet are going to get worse. And for young people, that is not a world we want to grow up in. And for the experts and the scientists, they can help us get there. And I think that's been a really useful connection, is young people pointing to the science and saying, look, you know, we're not crazy young people who just want to change the world for fun. Like, we have to. And I think the people element has been really important in the youth fight, you know, really getting people out on the streets, bringing young people, you know, they're in the media, they're on the news, they're on your TVs. Like, young people really are showing up to fight for this. And I think that's put so much pressure on politicians. It's really hard to say, we don't care about the youth. You know, you don't hear that. No one says it, because that would be terrible. That would be the worst political decision ever. So we have this really amazing power to just ask for exactly what we want without the fancy words, just, you know, reflect the science and say, this is what we need, this is what we want. And it's your job to do that. And we're going to be here making sure you do that until it's done. And I think that kind of restless youth energy of like, we will keep going until this happens, is so powerful. And politicians were not ready for it. I don't think they expected young people to come out as strong as we have. And it's so inspiring to see that continue. You're on mute.
Sorry. Absolutely, and I think we've been, I think there has been forceful lobby by the youth movement in the last few years demanding change, and we've sort of seen the response that we've seen, creating various, you know, youth organ within the UN, also within national governments, sort of like responding to that. My next question really is, you know, I'm going to speak with the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives of Nigeria today, and I'll be proposing some solution that could be implemented in Nigeria. And I'm going to ask you this: in your view, what is the most effective existing climate change solution at the moment?
Can I have two answers? I think, okay, I'm going to cheat. I think community involvement, because I think the kind of technical solutions are out there, and we already know them, and progress is being made there. But I think what's really going to make the difference is really making sure that everyone feels like they're involved in this journey. So that means, you know, bringing in local leaders, bringing in young people, really having them there in those discussions, because it's young people's future. And if we don't feel invested in it or involved in it, then we're not going to try. And so really having young people involved, having local members of the community, businesses who are willing to innovate and make change, and really making it feel like this collective effort, I think that's the solution. Like, that's, once conversations happen at that level, change is going to be inevitable and easy because you have everyone on board. I think it's when top-down solutions come and they don't seem to fit people's real lives, that's when things get hard and you get these blocks and people just don't want to agree. So yeah, maybe my kind of cheat answer to cover everything is, yeah, really bring local people involved. Get everyone in the room so that it feels like a joint effort rather than someone just telling you what to do, which doesn't always make sense and isn't always nice.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. I think broadening the political participation would be a good response to climate change action. Professor Emmanuel, I've got a few questions for you from the audience, but before I come to that, I'll sort of ask one last question from myself. If anyone is inspired by the work of UKYCC today, how can they join your movement? Is there any way they can be involved in the work you do?
Great question, and that's really good to hear. Yes, there are loads of ways. Definitely check our website. I think I put the link in the chat. Follow us on social media. We take people based in the UK, mainly because we do a lot of work at the UK level. So I couldn't really offer any joining opportunities unless anyone here lives in the UK. But what we really need help with, and we really want to do, is we recognize that the UK have a pretty bad history on climate change, and they are continuing to have a horrible impact on the rest of the world. So right now, the UK is constantly bragging about how much action they take on climate change. And yet we know that they use part of our foreign aid money to build fossil fuels in countries in the global south. And that is completely unacceptable and insane. And what we really need is support from other groups. Like, we want to build networks and partnerships with groups who are actually feeling those impacts on the ground. Because the most powerful message we can bring to the UK is, yeah, here are the people whose lives you are impacting while you claim to be a climate leader at home. And for us, that, like, we will not stop until the UK stops pretending. And so building partnerships with people who really feel that impact is the most important thing we can do. And we want to learn. You know, we recognize that we're a group who come from pretty privileged positions and also a very unique situation. We don't represent the whole world, and climate change is so different everywhere. So please write to us. We have an email, hello@ukYCC.org. And if you want to partner with us, or you have some ideas, or you just want to learn about maybe how to campaign, we can definitely help you with that. And yeah, the more contacts and the more people we can work with, the better. It's definitely a global fight. So please get in touch, social media, email. And we have a series of webinars coming soon that will advertise in social media, but they're going to cover all aspects of climate change, from false solutions to real solutions, to the social justice angle and the youth angle, as well as some skills on how to campaign. So definitely watch out for that. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Before I come back to you for your closing thoughts on this, or if there are any questions from the member of the audience, Professor Emmanuel Onatipupa, I think there's a question from the audience for you. I think you may have covered this, but just to give comforts for the questionnaire, that I have actually considered this. The question goes as thus: sir, we are worried about the continued industrial developments, yet we continue to embrace these new advancements. Sir, is the human race not going to be responsible for the end of the world due to our continued quest for advancements?
Do you have any choice to technological development?
So yeah,
do you have any choice to technological advancement? When I was born in some years ago, the population of Nigeria was only 50 million. Today, we don't know how many we are, but we estimated that we are about 200 million people. On the same piece of land, the land area of Nigeria has not increased. Actually, it has decreased because of Bakassi and other that was seeded out. Now, you cannot use the same technology that was keeping 50 million people to live the same way to get 200 million people to work. So we cannot do without industrial development. But what climate change is saying is that there are many options, there are other alternatives of improving our development, increasing our productivity, increasing our industrial output, using better technologies. that are not as polluting, they are not as contaminating as what we are doing now. For instance, in the case of Nigeria, the excessive dependence on the crude oil, on the fossil fuel, has to be reduced, because whether we like it or not, the world is moving away. And as my sister mentioned, that everybody, if for instance we have sunshine that has no boundary, nobody can stop the sun from reaching the earth. Nobody, no matter how your conflict, you cannot stop the sun from reaching my place. You can't block it. So that's the source of energy that everybody is now trying to see, and it is very clean. If you can use the solar energy maximally to increase our industrial production, then we'll be contributing less to the greenhouse gases that we are holding responsible for that. So that's what is important. Not that we should not develop, not that industrial growth will not be there, but that more efficient energy approach will be adopted. Nigeria is lucky. We have trillions upon trillions of cubic meters of gas that we have not been able to use. And even the oil we're shouting about has only about lifespan of about 40 or 50 years left, which many of you will still be able to see by the time it's coming to an end. And if the world is moving away to electric car and all the rest now, what is the fate? So Nigeria must agree that we must develop. If you don't develop industrially, you will not be able to have means by which young people get jobs and all the rest. This agriculture will not employ
of many sensitization from the media.
That's a very difficult question.
Prof, would you mind if Ellie take this? I think it's more.
Oh, okay.
Ellie, would you like to take this, please?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now.
Can you hear? I think. Okay. Sorry. I think my Wi-Fi. Good question. It's hard. I guess I would say try, keep trying, and then try again. Definitely, that's the first rule. But also, I think the most inspiring part of climate change for me is it's really a movement led by people. And I think lots of people get excited about that. So, if you maybe tell someone, oh, okay, you shouldn't leave your car on when you're not in it. And they say, well, why? It's not a big deal. My car isn't going to change the world. But if you can kind of talk to them about how many young people are out on the streets really calling for this, and how it's this amazing opportunity to change the world, and that by just taking tiny actions, that maybe the first time they do it are a bit annoying, and the second time it's like, ugh, I have to do this thing. But then they get really easy, and then they're just part of your life. And I think also, if coronavirus has taught us anything, we can adapt to so much. Humans are so good at adapting. And so I think really emphasizing that this is like an exciting movement to be part of, and that for people that can just start with turning off their car when they're not in it. I think people might feel excited to be part of a movement rather than feel like part of the problem. And I think framing it that way, like, don't you want to join this movement rather than don't be the bad guy, can be a really positive way to kind of flip that difficult conversation on its head. But definitely read as much as you can, learn as much as you can, because that will just bring confidence in those difficult conversations. And you won't always win, but you will eventually. And it's definitely worth continuing to try and change people's minds.
Thank you very much indeed. I think the last question we have from the audience, I might direct that to Prof. I think just to give comfort to the question, and I've indeed considered the question, because considering the numbers of people against the effect of climate change is having on us as people, please, are there law enforcers that are set up to making sure people comply to reducing the effects in the use of bioresources all around? Prof,
in the case of Nigeria, no. And that's one of the missing links in Nigeria today. Nigeria needs a climate change act. And when you speak to the speaker, let him understand that. We don't have any act. We have an agreement with the Paris Agreement that we are implementing something, but we don't have any legal backing. So it's so difficult for anybody to really arrest anyone for violating anything. So the first point is to have a climate change bill, which can help the country to be able to take some actions. Because it's so difficult for people to change in their ways. But if there's some little legal backing to some of these things, when you're advocating in them, when you're making people to understand what they have to do, I think we'll be able to do it. So I think, to me, the good starting point is a climate change bill, which we have tried about 2 occasions to no success. If we can do it well, like what has been done in Brazil, in UK, and all the rest, I think we'll be able to do better.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I think I'm just trying to ensure that we've covered all the questions from the audience. It does seem to me that we have covered all the questions from the audience. And at this point, I will invite Prof to give his closing thoughts on this, and then we can wrap up this session. Prof, would you like to give your...
Let me express my... Let me just express my joy in that, to help young people thinking ahead. And I think that's what is critical. Not only in the area of climate change, to do the same thing in other areas of development for Nigeria, so that we can all be thinking that we do not, because when we grew up, we're all very comfortable. We get job after finishing your degree, the second day or third day or third month. So we're not really bothered. Everybody was just enjoying life. So now that things are a bit difficult, and younger ones are not thinking. So keep up this approach. Use it to encourage people to be aware of their roles. It's not only government. Everybody has a role. Like Elo said, you can see that, as an individual, for instance, if you are making tea, you don't need to boil a whole kettle of water for a cup of tea, because the energy you use to boil the water, a whole kettle, is a waste. And that's the type of energy efficiency individuals can have. In your house, in your homes, you can plant trees. You can make it to give you fresh air. So your father's compound, start to encourage daddy, let's put 1 or 2 trees here. You get fresh air, which is also helping to have it as a carbon sink. So keep up the spirit, put yourself together. You need a formidable force. Individuals may not be able to do things in the area of climate change like many other development areas. But if you have a formidable voice, if you have a formidable force that is really positively, there are many opportunities in the area. Climate change is not a bad thing. Many opportunities. Every world, every part of the developed nations are exploring this electrical issue, solar panel. These are all opportunities. All these solar laptops and everything, they're all opportunities which are aimed at helping us to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, which can be explored by the young ones to create jobs for themselves and also to make a living. So look at the opportunities, look at the things that can use to advocate climate change positively, and also give you a sort of source of income as you're advocating. And if you do that very well, you become interested, and never expect that there's no solution to climate change yet. It's all going to be an amalgamation of solutions. So it's not going to be something you will say you have talked about it this year. You're not going to talk about it again next year or 20 years or 50 years time. You will all die, the younger ones will die and leave climate change behind. It will always be there. There's nothing we can do about that. But its impact on us will be minimal if we all agree on how to respond to it very well. So on this note, I want to thank you for the initiative and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Professor Emmanuel Oladipupo. We've been speaking with Prof. He's an international acclaimed climatologist and head of the Stakeholder Advisory Group of CCN. We have been blessed to have him. We've benefited immensely from his expertise, and he has indeed provided us an overview of the science behind climate change. Thank you very much, Professor. We hope that we do invite you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We hope that we do invite you in future, you will join us again. Before I
no
move
problem. Anytime, feel free.
Thank you. Before I ask Eddie to provide his final thoughts on this session, I would like to apologize on behalf of Governor of Lagos State. He's unable to join us today because of unforeseen circumstances. But I believe the Speaker of the House of Representatives, his team is online already and will be joining us at exactly 1 o'clock. So Ellie, would you like to give us your closing thoughts, please?
Yes, thank you so much. I just echo everything Professor Emmanuel's just said. I think definitely learn as much as you can. Fill your brain with knowledge. And there's so many different ways to do that that are engaging and exciting. So just go out there and get your hands on as much as possible. Find your people. If that's your friends, your family, community groups, your church, find people who are going to support you in this fight and keep you interested and engaged and make you have fun, because that's so important. Reach out to other groups. There are amazing groups already doing the work all over the world who are so happy to connect with other young people and help make this a really global fight led by young people. And keep going. Yeah, as has already been said, this is a long battle, but I definitely believe we have the opportunity to build a better world. And I think climate change has really forced us to think about the injustices that we already have and how, given this opportunity and this need to change the whole system, how can we do that and make sure that it's fair and that it takes care of everyone? And I think that's the world that we want to build. That's the world we're fighting for. We're not fighting to save the earth. We're fighting to change it and make it better. And I think that's what always keeps me going. So definitely keep that in mind and stay positive. And yeah, young people can do this. I'm in no doubt. But thank you so much for having me today. And yeah, stay positive.
Thank you very much, Ellie Rob. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board today, and I hope that many of our members in the UK will join the Your Movement UKYCC in pushing forward the action against climate change, and hopefully in future we would like to invite you again to speak to us or collaborate with us in many different measures. So thank you for your time and also for your thoughts on this program. I think we now have the team of the Speaker of the House of Representatives, but before we start, if anyone wants to sleep in water or something, please feel free to do that before we start the session with the speaker. Can we have the PowerPoints for the speaker session on, please? Thank you all for your continued patience with us. I understand that the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Gbajabiamila, is with us. Just a reminder, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom control panel. I'll bring them up during the presentation, and we'll also have time at the end of the session to speak up your question. Without further ado, we will turn the time on to His Excellency, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila. Mr. Gbajabiamila is the current Speaker of Nigeria's 9th House of Representatives. He graduated from the University of Lagos with a Bachelor's of Law with honors in 1983 and was called to Nigerian Bar in 1984. He subsequently went on to establish his own law firm in Nigeria. He moved to the United States, where he earned his Juris Doctor from Atlanta's John Marshall Law School and also participated in local election campaigns in Atlanta. He was elected to the House of Representatives in 2003, re-elected in 2007 as Minority Leader till 2015. He was elected Speaker of the House of Representatives in June 2019. Mr. Gbajabiamila is a vocal advocate for the fight against climate change and broader social justice. He has recently called for urgent capacity building to tackle the challenge of climate change and environmental degradation. It recognizes the imperative for legislators to work with executive in developing and implementing a robust strategy to holistically address the challenge of climate change and environmental degradation so as to build a sustainable future for the country. He recently created a special committee on ecological fund to deal with the issues of climate change. I am very privileged today to welcome Mr. Gbajabiamila, who has indeed employed many young people to serve at various positions, including as special assistants. May I invite Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila to introduce himself and offer his initial thoughts.
Muted. Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Sir. Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I don't know if I came in late to this onto this platform, but it's nice to be with you all on this International Youth Day. It's always a pleasure to hang out with my friends and women. Congratulations to speak with you and be a part of you for a very, very brief period. Unfortunately, even though we're on recess, I'm still working and I have a couple of engagements today, but being here, no matter how brief, was very important to me to take your questions and perhaps engage with you for a short while.
Thank you very much, sir. Without wasting much of your time, I'll probably move on to the first question we have. Often legislative measures are precipitated by vertical and horizontal pressures. Indeed, the Paris Agreement represents a forceful exhortation for national government to act against climate change. And it does then raise the question whether the Paris Agreement creates an impetus for Nigeria to act against climate change. My question really is there a political mandate to tackle climate change in Nigeria? If there is political mandate, indeed, is the political base for action wide enough?
Well, thank you very much for that question. The issue of climate change, as you know, has been an ongoing perennial issue throughout the world for some time. What's interesting is that some people believe in it and some people don't. More interesting is the fact that even nations that you would expect that would believe in climate change and who are probably the most guilty of polluting the environment, some of them actually don't believe in climate change. You've had over the years all sorts of protocols like the Kyoto Protocol, for instance, and the United States actually withdrew out of that because there are very many interests, very many interests on the issue of climate change. As you know, it affects fossil fuel, it affects production of automobiles and industrial pollution. And so there are many interests that come to play. And some believe it's a hoax, and some believe actually that it is true. Here in Nigeria, at least in the House of Representatives, we believe on in the issue of climate change and the Paris Agreement. For that reason, we set up a committee. We actually have a standing committee in the House on climate change. It's very proactive. A lot of work is being done, but not as much as we want to get done. So I think it's a question of awareness and a question of education. It's one of those issues that are not in the front burner, but are actually very, 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 very germane and important to our survival. Some people have taken the issue to the point of pollution and environmental degradation and the issue of climate change as an existential threat. And so, yeah, as far as the House is concerned, we have set up a committee of about 30 members, and they are being proactive. And very soon, we'll begin to churn out, hopefully, laws that will reduce the effect of climate change. The science and all scientists, theorists, environmentalists, world experts have written papers and acknowledged the existence of climate change. So it's something that we need to brace up to and deal with. And we are doing that.
Thank you very much, sir. Recently, you called for technical capacity building and developing awareness for climate change. You also recognize, I believe, that there's obligation on legislators to develop effective legislative framework to address climate change. And I understand that there's a bill before the National Assembly. Does the existing legislative framework provide robust incentive for corporations to mitigate or reduce their carbon footprints? If it doesn't, should we consider incentive like tax reduction, publication of emission level, or emission trading at targets in order to encourage corporations to reduce their carbon footprints?
Well, thank you very much. As you know, this is a very a highly technical issue. As it is today, we have not mastered the science in terms of legislation on the issue of emission control and tax rebate. Your emission control standards can only be measured with technology. There are countries and states outside of Nigeria that have emission control laws. We may have laws, but I think we have not reached that point where we can have exact calculation, scientific calculation as to what your industry is emitting, what your car is emitting, what pollution, the quantum of pollution, and what exactly is being emitted. Not apart from the quantum, what exactly is being emitted. But that's where we need to go down, the science of it. And of course, all over the world, those who recognize climate change now actually have tax rebates, tax reduction, tax incentives. If you lower your rate of pollution, you get certain reductions. That's where it's aspirational for us right now in Nigeria. And I'm glad that that's why I'm happy about this topic, as esoteric, as important as it is, and as technical as it is, that you're bringing it forth on this particular day. So that's where if you go to, for instance, go to the United States and many other countries, you'll find that, and I'm telling you how advanced they are now. Before you renew your tag, your vehicle tag, on a yearly basis, you have to take emissions test. And almost every gas station you drive through or you drive to has that capacity or capability to test your vehicle to find out what quantum of emissions gas is being produced to the air, or the level of pollution, and things like that. Unfortunately, we're not there yet in Nigeria, and technology requires a lot of money. but I believe it's aspirational. I believe we will get there. I believe those are the areas, the committee, the mandate, the committee that we have set up on climate change has been given to look into. And I believe it's part of our legislative agenda in terms of the environment. We launched a revised legislative or updated legislative agenda just about 2 weeks ago, based on the COVID experience. And I believe the environment and climate change is part of that. And I believe that we'll work towards getting to that level, that point where we are able to ascertain a certain percentages degree of pollution in Nigeria and how to curb it.
Thank you, sir. It's really useful to understand the direction of travel. And that's moved me to the second bit of my question. So the average age of legislators in Nigeria is probably around 50, yet the average population of this country is between 15 to 35. Young people constitute half of our population, and youth face systemic poverty, barriers to education, multiple forms of discrimination, and limited employment prospects. You recently admitted that half of the challenges confronting Nigeria will be over if youth are properly engaged in the administration of this country. How can the involvement of youth in institutional politics be enhanced to allow them to contribute to policies that impact them the most?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Thanks for the question. But I think most important, I think the legislative arm of government has done perhaps the most important thing to do through the Not Too Young to Run bill. You did say the average age was 50 years. I don't believe that's the average age of the legislators in Nigeria today, at least not in the House of Representatives. I think the average is a little bit lower than that. But having said that, the Not Too Young to Run bill sought to and did, in fact, is one of our milestone achievements in the 8th Assembly, did in fact lower the age of qualification into the House and to the Senate as well. And I believe that's the first level of probably the most important level of empowerment that the young ones should be looking at and to take advantage of it. I've often said, and I was guilty of that as well at that age too, that oftentimes, we sit back, we fold our arms, more or less, quote unquote, become armchair critics without being proactive and taking advantage of the laws and the environment that has been created by the Not Too Young to Run bill. I want to encourage the young ones to take advantage of this. And be a little bit more proactive. Education is very key in terms of youth development. We are working on legislation. We have passed legislation, at least in the House, the student loan bill, for instance, which affords, because a lot of people out there have a lot of capacity, very intelligent, very smart young men and women, but unfortunately they're indigent and do not have the capacity to carry through with their education. The student loan bill in Nigeria seeks to more or less make education free, or at least grant you a loan with a moratorium period of maybe 5 years after you get employment to pay back. It's what obtains in most advanced democracies. And I think it's important that we take again advantage of that kind of legislation, be more proactive, be more engaged. Governance is not just about those in government, those who are elected. Governance is about everybody, whether you're outside of government or in government. It's a symbiotic relationship that nobody's a fountain of knowledge. I encourage young ones to bring forth their idea. We have a platform in the Office of the Speaker now, which I created, called Speak to the Speaker, and it's out there for anybody to take advantage of. Bring in your ideas. We will work on it. We will react to it, and hopefully together we can move this country forward. The world is your oyster, as young men and women. It's often said again that young men shall have vision, and the old men should dream dreams. So let us crystallize our vision. I keep saying our. I guess I'm one of you. like to think. Like, let's crystallize the vision of the young ones and make an impact. For us on our part as legislators.
Yeah, you shall.
For us as legislators, we seek more engagement. I have an open door policy in my office. Many young people, young groups, young organizations come in here on the daily, and we have a listening and attentive ear here in the house to marry your ideas with ours and contribute to the youth development in Nigeria.
Thank you, sir. Many young people on this call, youths in diaspora, the UK, the US, and France have diaspora political participation in some variation. Nigeria and diaspora make substantial contribution to our national domestic product, and I think should be involved in our policy making in some variation. Should there be an elected position be created for Nigerians in diaspora, for example, a national legislative seat?
Well, that's another very interesting question. Sounds very nice, sounds very romantic. It's a great idea, I support it, but it's a little bit more complicated. Why is it more complicated? I'm a realist and I'm a pragmatist. Have we been able to handle our own elections here within the shores of Nigeria? Every day we talk about election rigging, manipulation, and the rest of it. And until I think we're able to handle what we have within our own backyard, before we even begin to venture, we should even begin to venture into a realm that will require a lot more forthrightness, a lot more truthfulness. What technology is involved. We have to look at ourselves. It's one thing to say we want those out there to vote, and I want it more than anything else. But we don't want to, in trying to solve a problem, create another problem. So again, that's aspirational. Now let's look at even more advanced democracy. We've heard what one party is saying in the United States now. They have an election just around the corner, and they're even arguing about mail-in ballots, whether or not it will give them free and fair elections. And now that's a country that's advanced in technology and advanced in its democracy. So I think certain things need to be put in place before we even venture into that. There's so many countries where they don't have diaspora voting. So whilst we want to leapfrog into that uncertain area, let us look before we leap. How do we monitor it? How do we safeguard the one man, one vote philosophy? How do we make sure things are done the way they're supposed to be done when we're even having problems here, even in local government elections? So whilst I look forward to that day where we can, I think we also have to be practical about what we're doing. And don't forget that in terms of diaspora, franchise is very important, electoral franchise or voters franchise. But there's also a diaspora commission. I believe is also looking into this issue. And I think by the time we look at all what it involves, I think they'll come up with a blue paper. At that point, we'll be able to dot the I's and cross the T's and know whether we can move forward with this very noble idea or not.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you on some of this question. And I think that's probably the final question on my list. And I would encourage everyone to drop in their question on the chat box. The first question I have here from the audience is, sir, to encourage more youth participation in politics, wouldn't it be good if we have limited age for those that run for offices, just like we have in civil service rule that you have to retire at age 60? So the question now wants us to have a bar or a maximum voting age.
Well, that's fair enough. That's an idea. But then let's test the constitutionality of that idea. Does it pass constitutional muster? The same constitution which we all swore to uphold says that you cannot discriminate on the basis of age. And so, whilst you cannot discriminate against somebody for being too young, you should be able to discriminate against somebody for being too old. Again, so many ideas are noble, but like someone said, and excuse me for saying this, the road to hell sometimes is paved with intention. Age should not be, whilst we give the young people, and I think we should, opportunity, I think merit should trump age and your capacity. Sometimes the younger ones know better than the older ones. Sometimes the older ones have a little bit of experience to bring to bear. But if we can balance it and amend the constitution, if that's what we're asking for, I will champion it. We did the young, not too young to run bill. I was one of the champions of that. There's something called reverse discrimination. So we don't want, again, you don't want to more or less, so to speak, ban people from contesting because we think they're too old, and then be guilty of discriminating against them. Now, I think a final way to do it, rather than what the question then becomes, what age are we talking about as being too old? What is the science behind it? Have we done the research? I think if I was to take a guess, I would actually opt for that solution of putting a cap to an age where you can run for office. I actually like the idea, and I think it's a good idea. But let's do it properly. Let's do it. Let it be scientific based. That at this certain age you have nothing else to offer, and I think that's what's done in other areas when you talk about the civil service, perhaps judiciary. Even with those, there have been exceptions, perhaps in the education and one or two other areas. Okay, these areas are particular. Yeah, let us raise the bar a little bit and give them a higher age before retirement. So let's look at it. Let's consider it. Let's see how it will work. I think it will work. I think the young people probably have more to offer this country at this point. And if you look world over, you find that in most countries that work today, it is young men and women that are the helm of affairs. What's interesting is that if you look at recently, I got some WhatsApp message that was going around, and they looked at the spread of countries that had dealt best with the issue of the virus. And they weren't just young, they were also women. Yeah, that was food for thought for me. They were at the forefront in containing the virus and the pandemic in their countries. About 4 or 5 countries, and they were top heavy women and young ones. So yeah, it's food for thought, and I'll be more than happy to look into it, where our elected officials, just like the civil servants, our elected officials, after a certain, there's a cutoff age, but we have to bring it in line with the Constitution. If it means tweaking the Constitution and amending it to accommodate such, then we'll definitely look at that. Very interesting.
And sort of the final question from the audience, because I'm conscious of time. So the question here says, how soon should we expect the bill on climate change?
Should I just give you one word answer and say soon? Why? Because I don't want to straight my jacket myself into, and then because I like accountability. If I give you a date, then you must hold me accountable to it. So let me be smart about this one and just say soon. But take my word for it. We're working on it, and it will come soon.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I don't think I have time to take any more questions, but I would invite you to give your final thoughts or address on this webinar, or if there's anything you'd like to share with us, please, sir.
Well, I think I said it all in my very short opening remark, other than to reemphasize that the world is your oyster. The stage is set. The stage is set. This is your time. This is your moment, and I think we should seize it. The world is very dynamic today. The young ones have so much to contribute. They can shape the future of this country. They can change the narrative of this country, and that's what somebody like me, that's what I look forward to. That's why we have the Not Too Young to Run Bill. But it's not just in politics. We must all get involved in politics. Politics is not a profession for a certain set of people. Politics is for everyone. We all play politics around us. We play politics in our classrooms. We play politics at home, and again, governance is not about legislators or governors or ministers. It's about everybody, and we must all come together rather than sit back and be armchair critics and complain and complain and complain. You don't get anywhere by complaining. Yes, even if you must complain, but put some action to it, and that's my charge. That's what I would say. Those of us in governance have not always measured to what is expected of us, and I'll be the first to admit that. But then again, maybe it's because of the I guess nonchalant attitude of the young ones. I remember once we had a president that said, "Oh, I know Nigerians very well, and I know how to handle Nigerians." Let it not be said of the young ones that I know our young ones, they won't do anything, we know how to handle them. No, that the young ones be proactive, let them take charge. Rome was not built in a day. It's little steps will take us to El Dorado. But if we sit back and do nothing, we will have ourselves to blame. So once again, thank you for having me. I've had a good time engaging with you. And again, like I said, my office is open anytime. Just if you get in touch with my office, I'll be more than happy to sit down and have a one-on-one or have a conversation with you in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. We've been speaking with Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, the Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives. On behalf of NASFAT, the planning team, we would like to thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us today. Thank you. Now I will pass on the baton to our next moderator in person of Mr. Abubakar Mustafa, who will anchor the next session, which is the workshop session. Mr. Mustafa.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jibola Lawal, for the wonderful coordination so far. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are from all over the world. And I hope you've been having a wonderful time with the speakers so far. My name is Abubakar Mustafa. I study mechanical engineering from the University of Port Harcourt. I got my master's degree in engineering management from the same university. Currently, I work with Turbine OEM, so we manufacture gas turbines as a field service representative. So I'll be walking you through the next 30 minutes of this webinar, and I hope you enjoy a little bit of it. Promised you that we are going to announce the result of we have promised you is one votes, so that's a promise. So right now I'm going to display the IYG content.
All right, we are taking the we will be displaying the results of the poll as promised from the last time, that we informed us all that the poll has been done and it's been taken. And from zones, I think it's good for us to display the zones again so that we are aware of what zones did what. Video one, Hussein Ikma 001 is from Lagos Zone 2. Farhan Adeyemo video 002 is from UK and Island Zone. Abdugani Dangiwa video 003 is from Niger Zone. Olani Abdulwaid video 004 is from Osun Zone. Bello Zainab Akinwale 005 from Ogun Zone. Mustafa Abubakar video 006 is from Southeast Zone. Ibrahim Bakare video 007 is from Headquarters Zone. Akiniyi Amidat 008 is from Oyo Zone. Abibat 009 is from Lagos Zone 1. And lastly, Vikrulai Anyide video 010 is from Northwest 2 Zone. As we said, we thank everyone for your input, for all your videos. We appreciate that. Are we ready for the video? Are we ready for the results? Can I see yes if you're ready on the chat group? I don't think you're ready. The results. Are we ready? Let's display the results now. The result of the zone is, there we go. Can we see our result now? That's the result. That's the result. Brother Mustafa, you have the floor. You have the mic again, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. And I believe you are seeing the poll, so it's technological based, so no cheating. No cheating. So take a look at the results. I'm going to announce them in seconds. So looking at the polls, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we want to thank you all who have sent in your videos. We just have to have some people to represent us as the winners for this year's contest, and I hope you're going to do better next year. The whole idea is to learn, not to compete with ourselves, okay? So looking at this result, we have video 003 coming in third position, and it's from Abdugani Danjua from Niger Zone. You can give him a round of applause wherever you are. Congratulate him. And the next runner-up is video 001, which is from Hussein Hikmat, Lagos Zone 2. And permit me to congratulate the winner for this year's IYD pitch contest in person of about the youngest guy in the competition, Mr. Farhan Adeyemo from UK, Ireland. Congratulations. The organizers will get in touch with you. As we promised, you are going to give a prize. Your idea was very nice, the presentation okay, and the video fascinating. So congratulations once again, Mr. Farhan. All right. Right about now, we have been talking about the problems with climate change, the impact on our lives, and so on and so forth. So we are working into the next session, which is a workshop, to harness the benefits that comes with this problem. Because there is a saying that necessity is the mother of innovations. So permit me to welcome our own Mrs. Olabanke Banjo Zube, who is MD CEO of Cyrus 45 Factory. Can you say hello to the house, please?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, thank you for coming now, Ms. Olabanke.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Olabanke is a graduate of French from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University. She is a digital content creator, art enthusiast, and a lover of science fiction. She's the MD CEO of Cyrus 45 Factory, an upcycling company that makes beautiful ornaments and furniture from solid waste, especially tires, supporting goals 12 and 13 of the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. Now, Mrs. Olabanke, at a time when our young people are all looking for white-collar jobs, oil companies, management firms, and so on and so forth, you decided to get your hands dirty. Well, before you jump into the workshop proper, we need to know what inspired you. What's your inspiration? Tell the young ones.
Okay. So basically what inspired me, before I actually dive into your question, thank you so much for having me here. It's such a huge honor to be part of this program. And I think, it's a good thing what the NASFAT Youth Wing is doing to commemorate International Youth Day. So I commend the team and well done. So what inspired me actually was a pile of 20 abandoned used tires. So what happened was in 2016, I was living with my sister and her neighbors had a pile of 20 used tires in their compound and they were, constituting a nuisance. So what they wanted to do was to throw them away. And I know that when you throw tires away, most times they are burnt and burning tires is bad for the environment. So where they saw a problem, I saw an opportunity. And that was how, I told them to give the tires to me. And with the help of Google and my very creative mind, because I like to pride in being a creative, I was able to make my very first tire piece, a furniture piece, which was a table. And that was how my business was birthed.
Oh, quite insightful there. So, ladies and gentlemen, pick up your writing pads, your papers, and your biros. I'm sure 25 or 30 minutes is not going to be enough for how to cover everything, but at least it's sort of an awareness for every one of us. So I'm sure after this event, she's going to drop a contact for follow-up. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mrs. Olabanke Banjosbeir to take us on a workshop on recycling.
Thank you very much. And I would also just like to quickly correct that what we do at Cyrus 45 is not recycling. What we do is upcycling. There's a difference. And that's part of the sensitization that we need to give people. Recycling is when you shred, waste materials to form new raw materials that would need to be processed again into an end product. But upcycling is when you take waste materials and then you convert them, you repurpose them into an end product. So like what we do at Cyrus 45 is that we take tires and then we turn them into chairs, tables, ottomans, kiddie stools, and the like. So before I dive into the workshop, I will just take us briefly on what upcycling is, and the benefits, the challenges, and the likes. So what is upcycling? Basically, upcycling is the process in which waste materials are repurposed or remanufactured in a way that increases their original value. So what I said before, you take a tire, tire, when it's a waste tire like that, it's already useless. But when you repurpose it into something new, it has a higher value. Like when you turn it into a table, it has a higher value. So most times in upcycling, the process involves you either using all of the waste materials or part of it to turn them into a new product. And then upcycling, most times when you hear waste to art, oh, people are doing waste to art, that is upcycling. Because upcycling, most often than not, is creatively used. You see it in the fashion space, in the art space, and in design space. So creativity is one of the hallmarks of upcycling. And I like to say that upcycling can be placed at the top spectrum of the recycling, system, because it conserves energy. When you're upcycling, it doesn't use as much energy as recycling, because recycling, the process is longer. You have to still shred, you have to remanufacture, and the likes. Please, the next slide. So what are the benefits of upcycling? I mean, we all know that recycling, upcycling, and the likes helps to protect the environment by reducing the amount of waste that goes to landfills. And we know that generally landfill methane emission is the most, what's the word now? Is the top on the list when it comes to man-made methane emission that causes, global warming and greenhouse gas effects. So upcycling helps to reduce that. It helps to reduce the amount of waste that goes to landfill. It also helps to conserve natural resources. We spoke about deforestation and how, that's also contributing to climate change. The previous speaker spoke about that. And that is what upcycling helps to do. Recycling and upcycling, it helps to conserve natural resources, because you don't need to start cutting down trees or, trying to use more new natural resources to make stuff. You just use the old things, and there's a process. And that's the concept of circular economy. It's when you ensure that resources are continually used, round and round until they reach their end cycle. It also stimulates creativity and innovation. And sorry, previous slide. And last but not the least, it provides employment opportunities, because upcycling and recycling, it's kind of like a new industry in a way. So it provides creation of jobs and entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. So, I mean, like I said before, the essence of upcycling is the hallmark of upcycling is creativity. It takes a lot of mental and creative work to become an upcycler. You have to be creative, and some things need to take into consideration when you're going into the upcycling space. You need to think about design, aesthetics, functionality, durability, because just because you're taking a waste material and you're repurposing it doesn't mean that it should be done shoddily. You have to think about the design. Is it going to be functional for my user? And because upcycling takes, the process involves direct manufacturing to an end product, you need to put all these into consideration. Now, the business of upcycling, I would advise a lot of young people to consider, picking up an upcycling business, because, it helps primarily to protect the environment. And also in the next 5 to 10 years, the future is green. A lot of people will be tilting towards this industry. So it's better to establish the business right now, because at the end of the day, you would have a market to cater to in the nearest future. Next slide, please. So starting out, if you want to go into an upcycling business, the things you need to think about or take into consideration are having a steady source of waste material, so that you can have consistency in quality and also just a source in general. Also choose a niche. If you're going to be doing tire upcycling, what do you want to be doing? Do you want to be producing furniture? Do you want to, go into plastic upcycling or recycling? Do you want to be making jewelry from plastic or e-waste? What do you want to do? Identify your target market. Who are you selling to? What's their psychography, their demography? What do they like to do? You need to also maintain a low cost production cost. This is generally for all kinds of businesses anyways. So you need to think about, okay, if I'm going to sell, because of the work that goes into upcycling, most of the products end up being expensive. So you need to maintain a low production cost. You need to select your sales platform, communicate the value and uniqueness of your product, because a lot of people are not buying the idea of, an upcycled product. You need to convince them that even if it's from waste, it is good, because you put in the work, creativity, and excellence in your production. And then, of course, consistent innovation, because as they say, if you're a business owner, if you don't innovate, you will die. Next slide, please. So opportunities, like I said before, when it comes to upcycling, the first opportunity that you would have is favorable consumer attitudes towards upcycled products and upcycling in general. The future is green, trust me. In the next 5 years, a lot of people are going to be going green, because our earth needs it. The world needs people to go green. So we're going to be having more people that are going to be eco-conscious, and we need businesses to cater to them. So that's one opportunity. Also, there's financial and business management support to upcycling business. I can testify to, receiving grants and funding for my business because I'm doing something good for the environment. So there's that opportunity there. So if you're going to start out, you're going to have people that, DFIDs and people that will be able to support your business. And then, there's a growing untapped market, and you can easily collaborate with other upcycle designers to gain access to larger quantities of high quality waste materials. Next slide, please. Now, of course, with every opportunity, there will be a challenge, So the challenges with upcycling is, of course, difficulty in sourcing sufficient and appropriate quality of used materials. I remember one time last year, we produced tire benches for a hub in Nigeria, and we needed about 200 keke napep, that's tricycle tires, used ones, for the project, and it was difficult getting them. I wasn't prepared. So that was what made me know that I need to have a source of waste materials, and I also need to get quality used materials for these projects or for these kinds of work. So also storage is a problem, because you're keeping waste and the like. Sorry, previous slide. And then it can be time consuming, marketing can be difficult, and of course the market size may not be large because it's a niche market. So you might need to start small before you now expand. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. So these are just a few pictures of some upcycled products. This is a lamp upcycled from plastic. That is previous slide. that is a candle company. So what they do is that they use their containers, they use wine bottles to put their candles there, as opposed to remanufacturing or manufacturing new containers for their candles. And then that's a bag made from old car interiors, and also another bag made from soda can corks, or I don't know what they call it. So yeah, the next slide, please. Next slide. So yeah, so basically just pictures of some upcycled products, and just to show you that when it comes to upcycling, recycling, the possibilities are endless, you know. These are just a few websites you can visit on your own time just to look at what they do if you are interested in going into this space. So in conclusion, if you want to go into upcycling, just know that you're going into a space that is not really tapped. You know, a lot of people are not really in that space right now. So you have an advantage, and, you know, also, you know, it's great because it helps to reduce environmental pollution. It helps with climate change and climate action and the like. So let's just dive into the workshop, because I know I don't have a lot of time. So let's just quickly do this. So today we are going to be, questions can come after the workshop. So let's just quickly go into this. So today we are going to be upcycling this tire into an ottoman. So an ottoman is basically it's a backless and armless couch. So we're going to be upcycling this. Can you push it? Thank you. So we're going to be upcycling this into an ottoman. So the first thing you need to do, so this is a tire. Now this tire, I got it from the streets, and before this workshop, I already washed it. So when you get your waste material like a tire, what you do is you need to sanitize it first, because it's coming from the streets or from the waste dump site, or from the landfill or incinerator. So you need to wash it first with Dettol, with soap, sanitize it very well before you use it. So I've already done that. Now, I'm going to spray it using this. This is an aerosol spray paint, but usually we use automotive paint in my company. But because of this workshop, I'm going to be using this kind of paint. It's called an aerosol paint, and I'm going to spray it now quickly so that we can see that before we continue. So you can just, like, you know, put in any question you have, and then once I'm done, I'll answer.
Gentlemen, while this is going on, kindly put your questions in the Q&A session. We'll take them. And may I remind you all, please, to register your attendance with the link that's been shared on the chat session, so we know you attended this year's webinar.
Okay, so I've done like the first, I don't know if you're here, if you can hear me, but I've sprayed the tire right now. Now, because of time, usually what we use is we use automotive paint, just car paint, because it lasts longer. But right now, because of time, and if I use automotive paint, it won't dry quickly. So that's why I'm using the aerosol quick dry paint. So while this is going to be drying up, I would go to the next part of the demonstration. So right about now, I'm going to be putting the tire on the floor to dry while I go to the top part of the ottoman. Like I said, we're making an ottoman, and an ottoman is a backless and armless couch. So I'm going to be doing the cushion part of the ottoman while I allow the tire to dry on the floor. Okay, so for this part, thank you. So for this part, what you need for the top part of the cushion is you need a 3/4 plywood. This is a 3/4 plywood. We need that. You need a 10 mm foam. It's called foam padding. So I don't know the location you are, but if you go to any of the carpentry shops or technical shops of the likes, you can ask for a foam padding. It comes in different sizes. So this is a 10 mm, you know, it's what's going to form the poofy part of the ottoman. And then you need this. So I've already cut everything out before the workshop to save time. This is a 2 mm foam padding also. And when you get it, they usually sell it in sheets. So what you do is when you buy a sheet, you cut the circle, the size of your 3/4 plywood, which will be the same size of the top part of your tire. You know, so you would have measured it before you cut it. So I've already done all of that because of time. So we're going to just dive into this next. So what you do first of all is take your 10 mm foam padding and then you put it on top of your 3/4 plywood. I don't know if you can see me. I think I might put it like this. Just push it sideways. Okay, so you put it on top of your 3/4 plywood, and then you can use either a hot glue gun or a Bostik glue or Top Gun glue. I'm sorry, Top Gun. It's called Top Gun. It's white. So you can use that for the adhesive part of this process. So, but right now I'm going to be using a hot gun glue because of time and it's faster to dry. So what you're going to do is you're going to glue this to the top of the 3/4 plywood, and then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your 2 mm foam padding and you're going to use to cover this once this is done. So I'm going to be doing that right now, so you can just follow me. So when working with aerosol paints, spray paint, it's very important to wear your nose mask because the paint is a bit toxic. And also when you're working generally, just to wear your face mask is very important. So we're going to do this right now. I'm just waiting for the hot glue to be a bit hot. So while that's getting hot, so when you're going to do this also, I painted the tire white. So I'm going to be using Ankara fabric for the cushion part because I'm Nigerian and you know I want to represent Ankara in this furniture piece. So I've already cut out the Ankara according to the size of the cushion. So the first, I have two pieces here. The first part is for the top part of the cushion. Now the first part, this 1 yard, is going to be used for the top part and it's 1 yard of the cushion. While this part is going to be used for, is about ½ yard, it's going to be used for the inside of the cushion top. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. Once I'm done with this part, I'm going to demonstrate that. So I think the hot glue is ready. So it's ready. I'm going to quickly glue this to the board. So when you're using the hot gun glue or hot glue gun, you have to be careful because it's really hot and you can actually like burn yourself. So you have to be very careful. So like I said, the hot gun glue is very fast. So I've already, as you can see, it has been glued to the board. So the next thing you're going to do is going to take your 2 mm foam padding and you're going to wrap it round. Also using either your hot gun glue or a Bostik or Top Gun, you know, depending on situation and how fast you want it to dry. Okay, so now I'm done with this. So I've taken the 2mm foam padding and I'm taking it round my 3/4 plywood and my 10mm foam padding. This is what it looks like. So this is going to be the top of the ottoman. So next thing now is just, this is the final part actually, is just to put your fabric around your cushion parts. So we're going to start first with the top part of the cushion, which is the 1 yard. So what you need for this part is your staple gun. You can get this anywhere, technical shops you can get this, the staple gun. So we're going to do that right now. So you place your fabric, and then you place your cushion part on top, and then you begin to staple around. Now ensure that the edges are very tight so that it's very neat. Ensure that the edges are very tight. If not, the top has to look very rumpled and raw. So as you can see, if you don't ensure the edges are not itchy, this is what you're going to end up with. There will be rumple. So you need to be controlling that as you're stapling the cloth to the 3/4 plywood and your foam that you've already glued. Okay, so I'm done stapling. These are the excesses, so you can cut this out, just to ensure that it meets. You can cut it out, or alternatively, you can take this piece, fold it on top of it, and staple it round. But because of time, I'm not going to do that again. I will just cut it round. Now you don't want to do this because you don't want to waste the fabric. But like I said, because of time, I'm going to just do this. All right, so now we're getting to the final part of the workshop, which is to put the cushion parts on your painted tire. Now, ideally, if we were working with time, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to put another 3/4 plywood at the bottom of your tires. But because there is no time, we're going to just work with what we have. So this is your painted tire, I am going to take your cushion part and place it on top like this. I don't know if you all can see this.
You can see, you can see.
So this ideally is what an Ottoman looks like. So you will pardon all the, the sketchy places because of time, but ideally you ensure that your tire has full coverage. All right. So this is what it looks like. So now we have an Ottoman made from used tires, upcycled from used tires. So that's the end of the workshop. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have questions now, you can ask. And thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much, MD CEO Cyrus 45 Factory. We enjoyed every bit of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've got your thank you very much, actually. So we were a little bit above the scheduled time, but I think it's for the benefit of all. We've been doing a lot of talking, so let's get the benefits. So we just have, without wasting time, to emphasize what you've said about how to dive into this venture, then I ask just one or two questions from the audience. So you've emphasized that upcycling is different from recycling, and I'm sure we also got that. And you also emphasized that creativity and excellence is very, very key in this business. So you've also told us the considerations for designing or for whatever you're going to make. I put a frame of the DAFD. so once you remember the DAFD, these are what you consider for your design. So very important. Then I'm sure all this is not very rosy. I read your profile and no. I know you didn't get any funding before you started. So you started before you got anything. Yeah. So that brings me to one of the questions the audience asked. How easy was the viability of this business in line with the support from the government?
Okay, so yes, like I said before, one of the points I made when I was talking earlier before I started the workshop is that one of the opportunities or benefits of going into upcycling is that you're going to get support and funding if you meet the right organization or people. Is because you are doing something for the environment. It's a viable venture. As long as you know how to position yourself right, as long as your product is marketable, is also viable, because you can't just say you're going to upcycling and then you come up with an idea and it's not viable. You don't have a market. How will you sell? So you need to do your research. Okay, no problem. I want to do upcycling. I want to upcycle plastic. What do you want to upcycle plastic into? Who is going to buy it? You need to do your research. So if you can do your research, you can actually go into this business and you're going to be fine. I was working a 9 to 5 and I had to quit to face this full time. And so far, this is all I do, and it's my main source of income. So when it comes to viability of any upcycling business, it depends, and even any business in general, it depends on your research. You need to do your market research. You need to know, do a SWOT analysis, who are the competition, what do they do? What are they doing right? What can I do better? How can I innovate? Who am I going to sell to? Where would I sell? What's going to be my sales channel? What's going to be my distribution channel? So it's very important to do all of that. And like I said, if you position yourself right, you can get support from the government. You can get support from organizations. I've gotten support from Faith Foundation, from Orange Corners, from AGS Enterprise. I got funding from them. So like I said, it's just all about positioning, knowing your market, knowing your vision for the business, and then you will do well, you excel.
Thank you very much. Basically, it's about strategy. You finished it all, yeah? So, for those of us that want to get involved with Cyrus 45, maybe in terms of trainings and stuff like that. So, these are the questions. How do we reach you?
What do you say?
How best can we reach you? For those of us that want to...
Okay, so you can reach me via our Instagram page, cyrus45.ng. You can, on that page, we have an email address that you can send mails to. So that's the best place you can reach me on.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, and I think is very critical, is about safety. Safety. You are storing so much tires, and if any, God forbid, catches fire, for example, it takes about 23 days with a lot of heat
the combustibility of
tires, contributing to the emission, which we are claiming to solve. So how well do you take care of the safety of this storage?
Okay, so we don't store tires at Cyrus 45. We don't. That's one thing that we don't do. When I first started, I used to have like tires piled up in my mom's house, at the back. But when we now went into a full-fledged business, we looked at that, and it was a big problem. It's even still a problem for us. That's one of the problems with upcycling, because we get people call us and say, oh, we saw tires, a lot of tires at Ojuelegba. Can you come and pick them up? And I tell them we don't have anywhere to put them. And because the business model for my business, we don't stock, we don't produce and stock, in a showroom or in furniture showrooms or the like. We don't do that. We produce based on orders. So because of that, we don't store tires. What we do is we collect tires from people based on projects, on a project by project basis. And then when we have orders, we work with the tires that we have. So we collect tires per time. So it's a lot of work.
Nice one. That brings me to my personal question. How does that affect your delivery? How does that sourcing raw materials affect your delivery? Just in time. Yeah.
Sorry, in what sense?
Okay. You are not storing tires. That's what you said. So if I make an order
when
now,
I say we're not storing,
does that affect your lead time? Yeah.
What do you say?
Doesn't that affect your lead time to delivery?
No. So what we do? Okay. So let me rephrase that. So when I say we don't store tires, when I think of storage, we don't store in large quantities. Like I won't say I have like 20 to 100 tires. We, like I said, it's based on orders, you know. So what we do sometimes is if we have an order, like the project I had last year that I needed to get 200 Keke Napep tires. It's based on the order that I will now go out and source. And I have a source. I have where I get my tires from, which was why one of the things I listed on during my presentation was that you need to have a source, a consistent source of your raw material. So I have a source that so far has not failed me. So when I need a lot of tires, I go to my source and I get these tires. Most of them I go to Olushosun. I don't know if you know Olushosun. It's a popular landfill in Lagos. So I go to Olushosun, I work with vulcanizers. So when I have like, you know, a large quantity or, you know, of orders to like produce, I work hand in hand with these vulcanizers, or I work hand in hand with these collectors.
Wow, very, very insightful session. Thank you very much, Mrs. Olabanke.
Thank you so much for having me.
We know what it costs to bring an MDCEO to the show, so we appreciate your presence. And I want to believe,
I hope we learned a thing or two.
Yes, yes. I want to believe every one of us on the list as, before I call you to give us a speech, I want to believe every one of us has enjoyed every bit of this workshop and we've learned a thing or two. So if you are inspired, kindly visit the Instagram page, Cyrus45. And if you are just joining us, .ng.
I will drop it in the chat box so that people can see it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So she's going to drop it right now. So if you are just joining us, we've been talking to Mrs. Olabanke Banjo Zubair, the MDCEO of Cyrus.
Sorry, please, just Mrs. Olabanke Zubair. Banjo is my maiden name.
Okay. So too much research, I guess. So on this note, I want to draw the curtain. Thank you very much for
Thank you so much. God bless you.
My name is, thank you every one of you. I remain Abubakar Mustafa. And right about now, I'm going to pass the baton to the chairman of the International Youth Day 2020 Planning Committee, the person of Mr. Rahim Keji, to draw the curtain to this year's program. Thank you for being with us.
Mustafa Abubakar, and how we wish that the section should not come to an end. Unfortunately, it has to. We'll just.
Actually, you're still online. Yes.
Okay, let me just request him to unmute himself and see if it's going to work. Okay, we would continue. Unfortunately, we were unable to get hold of him. Perhaps maybe he's just off sick. Right, we want to, at this section, we want to thank everyone for your presence. All the resource team have been fantastic. They've been very wonderful. They've taken their time to support this event, International Youth Day, starting from, in no particular order, the NASFAT Chief Missioner, the person of Imam Maruf Onike Abdulaziz, our Professor Emmanuel, Oladipo, Ellie Rob for the fantastic panel discussions, the Speaker of Federal House of Assembly, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, and obviously Mrs. Subai. We thank you very much for your time, for your the knowledge you've passed to all the youth members today. I would like to extend my greetings or the appreciation to the entire NASFAT Executive Council, all under the leadership of our father, Mr. Olani Yusuf, for the fantastic support they've given the youth wing. I won't be mentioning those present on the call. We have the NASFAT National Education Secretary, the Assistant General Secretary is also online with us. We have our past Women Affairs Secretary, our mother, Nafisat Arugundade. We thank you, all of you, for your presence. We have all zonal leadership present from all zones. We acknowledge, we appreciate you. We also thank all branch executive councils that have been supporting all the youth programs from the branch level to the zonal level and also to the national level. We thank every one of you for your support. My appreciation would not be fully sufficient if I've not totally thanked our boss, the boss of the IYD 2020 team, and that is the Youth YNEC, the Youth Executive Council, under the leadership of the Youth Amir, the person of Brother Kabir Raji, and the entire team. We thank you all. We thank the Secretary, the Treasurer, the Financial Secretary, all of you, without mentioning any names. You've been very wonderful. Your support and your advice and your encouragement has been very, very much noted. And without further ado, I would like to thank my team. The team has been the great thinker. I can tell you that NASFAT IYD 2020 trended this week. It trended on Tuesday. We are trending today, and these are what we need to continue doing. I thank the team for the fantastic support. And at last, I would like to thank all our attendees. There will be no IYD 2020 without your support. You have been fantastic. You have been amazing. We thank you all. We ask Allah to continue to reward you well. We want to continue with this. Please, 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 can I ask you to make sure you put in your feedback? Your feedback is very important. I'm just putting the link again on there. Please feel free to put in the feedback and let us have your feedback for this event. From my entire International Youth Day hosted by NASFAT team, I ask you all, thank you, and God bless you, and inshallah, if Allah permits, we might see next year, and if not, we might go back to the zone to have this done as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.